In a dark cell, a girl was in utter despair. She held another person in her arms, looking at the man before her and demanding, "Why? Why would you do this to us?" The man before her said nothing, maintaining his silence. But the girl wouldn't let it go, frantically blaming him. "It's because of you that this child is dead. Are you satisfied now?" After saying this, she began to cry, looking utterly heartbroken. Unfortunately, the man just stood there cold and indifferent. He let out a cold scoff. "You ask why I did this. You know the reason perfectly well." His words made the girl freeze, not understanding. The man moved closer right in front of her face and said coldly, "The fact that you're locked in here, and the fact that girl took her own life, everything that's happened, you brought it all on yourselves." Hearing this, the girl began to sob even harder. She mumbled with a trembling voice, "No, we didn't do anything." But the man had no intention of listening, coldly shouting, "Shut your mouth and don't say another word. It's all over." This was his 6th regression, and this time he still couldn't stop this world from falling into ruin from the dragon onslaught. This man's name is Yugit. He wondered if he had just sat down and listened to what that little girl had to say back then. Would things have turned out differently? But he had no regrets. The dragons were far too savage. They had killed so many people. He wasn't afraid to face them. He narrowed his eyes, watching the fire dragon breathing flames towards him. Boom! An earth-shattering explosion erupted, filling the sky with smoke and fire. But JT was unscathed. He drew his sword and began to cut the beast down. The one thing IUJT realized after living through this hell, for the 6th time, was failure itself. Therefore, experience was the most important thing to him. JT gripped his sword and charged forward like a moth to a flame, his speed so fast that the naked eye couldn't see him. It was just JT alone taking on the entire dragon race. But JT didn't waver. He wasn't afraid. Every slash of his sword carried a terrifying killing intent. Countless dragons had fallen to his blade, but the crucial fact was that JT was alone, and the number of dragons was simply too great. Looking at the thousands of dragons before him, he couldn't help but sigh, because no matter how many he killed, he could never kill them all. The Earth had fallen into an anomalous state called annihilation. JT had failed to save the Earth. However, the world's power of the pendulum clock of regression activated once again. But JT wasn't surprised by this turn of events. He stood there calmly. His back remained straight. Then he gently closed his eyes, waiting for time to carry him back. Time returned to the 21st century, a place in utter chaos, with refugees filling the streets. Belongings were scattered everywhere. In the 21st century, when world gates began to open everywhere, monsters poured out from them. It seemed as though humanity's flame was about to be extinguished. But then humanity discovered a new flame and ushered in an era called the New Epic. After that, teenagers with outstanding potential from around the world were brought to an artificial island for training. That was the birthplace of the World Urban Academy. That was the moment LE was built. And as the new loop began, the regressor would enter his 7th life cycle. Right inside LE, in a small alley, a brutish man was grabbing a girl by the hair. His mutated arm was pressed against her neck as he roared furiously, "Damn it! If you want her to live, back off." The police surrounding the man shouted, "Hoshik, deactivate your ability and surrender immediately." Hearing this, Hoshik spat back defiantly, "Get lost. It's over for me anyway. You're all coming to hell with me." Just then, someone else walked into the alley. He appeared silently behind Hoshik and said in a cold voice, "I told you to surrender." Hoshik jumped in shock. How had he not sensed his approach? When did this guy get behind me? With that thought, Hoshik shoved the hostage aside and frantically attacked the young man. He cursed non-stop. "Damn it, shit. You're a cop too, aren't you?" Unfortunately for him, the young man's fighting skills were impressive. He nimbly dodged the attacks, then slammed a fist into Hoshik's face, letting out a cold grunt. "Not a cop, a police officer." That single punch sent Hoshik flying 10 meters, slamming hard onto the ground. His face swelled up like a pig's head. Seeing this, the young man couldn't help but sigh in annoyance. "I forgot to adjust my strength. I overdid it." This young man was, of course, Yugit, the regressor who had just returned. This time, his identity was a police officer at the LE local police department. A little later, at the LE local police department, A police officer was watching the news about Hoshik when suddenly, not long after, the unconscious Hoshik was lying at her feet. She asked with a trembling voice, "Why is he lying here?" JT was the one who brought him in. He slowly explained, "I was passing by and saw him, so I picked him up." Hearing this, the female officer sighed and said, "Let me just file the report first then." "That's all right. You've worked hard, Senior JT. It's just that..." After she spoke, she felt a little puzzled. JT seemed a bit different now. "Were you always this tall?" "And I think he's even more handsome now." While the two were talking, a middle-aged man appeared next to JT, smiling. "Hey, you JT, I heard you caught that Choi Hoshik. So this is the guy, huh?" JT nodded slightly in response. Yes." The man glanced over Hoshik's injuries, then quietly scolded him. "But hey, you hit him a little too hard. What if I get sued for excessive force again?" GT remained silent, saying nothing. He was quietly observing these two. They were all unfamiliar faces. To someone who hadn't returned to work since he started regressing, all of them were strangers. With that thought, JT grabbed the guy by the collar and dragged him away. He left her with only one sentence: "Get back to work. I have other things to do." The reason JT gave up his life to regress and prevent the world's destruction was because of the young dragons, because of the deaths of the dragon hatchlings. When young dragons from a world called Aniclimax reach a certain age, they descend to Earth to travel and seek happy experiences. Some get caught up in war, lose control and perish. Some are crushed by the malice of humankind until they fall. And some, unable to complete their given missions, take their own lives. These deaths enrage the Dragon Clan, and they turn to attack humanity. A regressor like JT, who had gone through this many times, had already grown as strong as he possibly could. But it still wasn't enough to protect the entire world. That's why, in this loop, he decided to try a different approach. Just as JT was heading out, the female officer ran after him, calling out, "Senior Latanka, are you busy? There's a new restaurant that just opened nearby. If you don't have plans, then how about having dinner with me?" As she spoke, she even struck a seductive pose, but JT coolly replied, "Sorry, I have to be somewhere." The female officer immediately cried out in dismay. Where are you going?" JT answered curtly, "Europe." In the beautiful and bustling country of Italy, people were living out their peaceful lives. Inside a park, a young woman was happily playing with children. She used flowers from a bush to make crowns and placed them on the children's heads, their giggling laughter echoing throughout the park. At that same moment, a figure was silently watching them, waiting for the children to leave. Only then did the person reveal himself. It was JT. He approached the young woman and slowly said, "Hello." Hearing his voice, the girl immediately turned to look. She was a beautiful young woman, with natural blue hair. JT watched her intently and said casually, "Could you come with me for a moment?" The girl didn't answer right away. She activated her passive ability, allowing her to use the language of another world. Only then did she politely speak up. "Hello, sir. Are you looking for me, mister?" JT nodded slightly and replied, "I have something I need to talk to you about." The girl asked suspiciously, "So you already knew who I was?" But JT didn't hide it, admitting nonchalantly, "That's right. What about you? Do you know who I am?" The girl chuckled softly and replied, "Of course I do. You're JT." The atmosphere instantly fell silent. Seeing that JT didn't answer, the girl raised an eyebrow and asked again, "Isn't that right?" JT's expression soured. He asked in a low voice, "How do you know that name?" The girl pointed to the tag on his chest and said with a smile, "Look, it's written right there on your chest, mister. It says, JT. Hearing that, JT looked down, and sure enough, he saw the tag with his name on it. So he'd been overthinking it. Seeing his expression, the girl continued, "I was just kidding. I really don't know who you are, mister, nor do I know what you're planning. But I do know one thing. JT, you absolutely do not belong here." Hearing this, JT said nothing, his gaze turning a little cold. The girl continued to ask, "So, does that mean you came here to kill me, Mr.?" JT shook his head slightly. "No." Seeing his denial, she asked doubtfully, "To kidnap me, then, you want to take me somewhere else?" JT thought for a moment before replying, something like that. Hearing these words, the girl suddenly thought of something. She cried out in alarm, "Don't tell me you're some kind of pervert with a thing for dragons." JT sighed helplessly. Stop talking nonsense. I came to protect you from this dangerous world. If you don't listen, I'll have to use force. The eyes of the Six Dragons clan can read the will of the heavens, making them more perceptive than other clans and quicker to grasp situations. And the girl standing before JT was a member of the Six Dragons clan. JT knew this, so he warned her in a low voice. I hope you'll make the right choice. The girl tensed up for a moment, but quickly recovered. She asked with a slight smile, meaning, if I obediently listen to you, mister, you'll treat me kindly. Is that right? That's right, JT replied with a slight nod. Hearing this, the girl immediately agreed. All right then. It's not like I have a choice anyway, but you have to treat me kindly like an honored guest. As she spoke, she turned around. The girl held up her pinky finger, winking as she smiled, and asked, do you dare to promise, Mr. Although she was smiling, her finger was clearly trembling. She was scared. JT noticed this. Without hesitation, he nodded. Okay, I promise. He then linked pinkies with the girl. The next day in the city, the member of the Six Dragons had been brought home by JT. After a long sleep, she groggily woke up. Wearing a white shirt, she slowly walked out, muttering in confusion. Uncle, are you awake? Uncle. Hey, Uncle. Only to step out into the living room. 6. Long saw JT talking to a dark shadow. He spoke in a low voice, giving an order. It's nothing. Just do as I told you. The shadow replied in a hushed tone, as you command, master. It then transformed into a duplicate of JT and slowly walked out, giving Six Long a slight nod as it passed by. She politely nodded back at it. Good morning. Then she turned towards the real JT, who was sitting on a chair. Thinking Six Long was scared, JT immediately explained. Don't worry about it. That's just a double I used to go to work for me. Hearing his explanation, she stood frozen for a long moment before finally reacting. She asked hesitantly, did you sleep well, Uncle? So you're really not gonna work? JT answered casually, even though it's a double, it's still my power. It going to work is the same as me going to work. Besides, I have to stay here with you. Hearing this, Six Long finally understood and laughed awkwardly. Ha ha ha, right. Well then, shall we have breakfast together? JT furrowed his brow slightly, asking in confusion, breakfast? 6. Long nodded lightly. Of course we have to eat. You skipped dinner last night too. JT shook his head in refusal. There's no need. Hearing this, Six Long pouted and mumbled, but if the host doesn't eat, it's super weird for me to eat all by myself. JT glanced at her, asking doubtfully, do you always eat proper meals? Dragons can survive without eating, you know. Six Long replied with a bright smile. This has nothing to do with surviving. You have to eat delicious food to feel happy. And when you're happy, you have more energy. JT didn't quite understand. Is that so? He said dismissively. At that moment, however, Six Long had already stood up. Nope, this won't do. Uncle, you're coming to the supermarket with me? JT didn't want to. He shook his head, refusing. I really don't. But before he could finish, Six Long cut him off. Let me show you the power of breakfast. A short while later, at a shopping center, a large crowd of people had gathered. But at that moment, something had captured everyone's attention. Men and women alike were all staring in one direction, right where JT and Six Long were. JT, carrying a huge pile of groceries, complained unhappily. It's just one breakfast, and you bought this much stuff. Six Long replied cheerfully, I saw that the kitchen was completely empty. Come on, let's hurry home so I can cook you breakfast. JT sighed in resignation. Never mind, let's just drop this stuff off at home and go eat out. The girl Six Long was a bit surprised. Huh, why? JT slowly explained, there's a place we need to go, and you have to come with me. Besides, it's way past breakfast time now. Hearing that, Six Long mumbled guiltily, Oh, I'm sorry, Uncle. It's been so long since I've gotten to go shopping, so I got a little carried away. But where are we going? JT explained slowly, we need to take care of a few things so that you can live here. Hurry up, we have a lot to do. Six Long followed along, not understanding a single thing. A short while later at a shop, an old man was laughing excitedly. Haha, what a stunning beauty, is she your girlfriend? JT glared at the man and warned in a cold voice, if you want to keep your other eye, shut your mouth and do your job. The old man was instantly terrified and shut his mouth, getting back to work. After they were done, the two went to another counter. It didn't take long before they were finished, and JT then led the girl 6 long to buy a watch, which made her eyes light up with joy. On the way back, looking at the identification papers with her new name, Yu Bum, the girl, formerly known as 6 long, couldn't help but feel happy. I have my own ID card now. It's so magical. Hearing this, JT asked, with a hint of doubt, "You've never had one before?" Yubom nodded slightly. "Forget an ID card. I've never even had a bank account or a hologram watch before." JT seemed moved by this, but it wasn't long before Yubom asked, "So, the last name is from you, uncle. But what does Bom mean?" JT slowly explained, "It's based on the 4 seasons. Actually, it's because there are 4 dragons to be precise. But regardless of the reason, Yubom was very happy. She loved the name. Spring is the time when new life comes into the world after all. This name is really beautiful." After walking for a bit, she hesitated before speaking again. "Actually, it's not that I'm not afraid of you." Yubom's eyes were constantly warning her that JT is truly dangerous. "But I don't think you're a bad person." Hearing these words, JT couldn't help but frown, asking doubtfully, "It's only been 1 day. How can you be so sure?" Yubom gave a small smile. "My instincts are very sharp," she replied. "It's because I'm from the 6 Long clan." Hearing that, JT let out a laugh, not knowing what to say. Yubom turned her head back to him, smiled cheerfully, and asked, "So, is it okay if I look at you for just a little while longer?" As soon as she said it, she turned and ran off. That smile, JT had never seen anything like it in any lifetime. He couldn't help but look up at the sky. "Not a bad start, huh?" JT thought to himself. Meanwhile, in a desert in South Africa, a red-haired girl stood before a bald man, speaking with contempt. "What's this? You were so fierce before, so why are you so weak now?" Hearing this, the bald man angrily cursed, "You crazy bitch! You think you can mess with us and get out of this alive?" But the moment he finished speaking, the girl stomped on his face. She snorted coldly, "Oops, you're so ugly, I guess I stomped a little too hard. You're not dead yet, are you?" But the other man didn't answer. He was unconscious. The red-haired girl smirked and said, "That makes 199 consecutive wins, huh? I wonder who's next." As she spoke, she took off her mask, revealing a beautiful face with fair skin and sharp, confident eyes. She wasn't human. She was of the dragon race. The next day, news of the female night hunter spread across the entire world. JT stared thoughtfully at the news for a long time. He thought that perhaps it was time to act. While he was thinking, there was a knock on the door, and Yubom's voice called out, "Are you still busy?" "It's already evening," JT immediately replied. "I'll be right there." He then turned off his computer and went outside. As soon as he stepped out, he saw a pot of pitch-black fish rice. JT instantly froze, but Yubom didn't seem to notice and asked excitedly, "What do you think? It looks delicious, right?" She said that when she was in England, she saw a dish made with sardines, so she tried combining it with rice. There's a saying in Korea, Koreans live on rice, you know. JT scooped up a spoonful of the black stuff in front of him. He truly didn't dare put it in his mouth. "Will I get food poisoning and die if I eat this?" In the end, he decided not to eat it. He put his spoon down and changed the subject. "Tomorrow, I'm going to pick up the red dragon." Hearing this, Yubom exclaimed in surprise, "The red dragon? But it's very difficult to bring her back. She won't come along obediently like I did." JT slowly opened his mouth. "If you come along to help persuade her, it probably won't be that difficult." Yubom hesitated for a moment before nodding. "I don't know if I'll be much help. There's a natural distance between our clans after all." Hearing that, JT frowned in surprise. "A distance?" Yubom slowly explained, "Because the desires of each clan are different. I like to leisurely create things. But the Red Dragon clan is completely different. They love war violence and showing off their power. The more you try to force her, the more dangerous it will become. To the Red Dragon clan, submission is worse than death." JT frowned, slightly hesitating as he mumbled, "But if we don't bring the Red Dragon back soon, it'll be very dangerous. Someone is targeting her. At this rate, the Red Dragon will definitely die." With that, JT looked intently at Yubom and said with determination, "So if you come with me, we can resolve this peacefully." But before he could finish, he noticed Yubom was looking at him strangely. He asked, confused, "What's wrong?" Yubom chuckled. This is the first time you've ever asked me for a favor. So it feels a little strange. I thought you were the type to handle everything by yourself." Hearing this, JT fell silent, unsure how to respond. Seeing his reaction, Yubom smirked. "All right, I'll help you. It's a rare occasion for you to ask for help after all. And besides, I don't want our friend to die either. But," she said, "I have one condition." JT looked at her bewildered and asked, "What is it?" Yubom pointed to the black mess on the table. "You have to finish this meal. I saw you sneakily put your spoon down the moment the red dragon was mentioned." These words made JT's face freeze. Then he sighed helplessly. There was no other way. He just had to fight back the nausea and eat that black stuff. Meanwhile, somewhere in South Africa, a battle was raging. Bodies were scattered all over the ground. The culprit was the red-haired girl known as the Night Hunter. She threw a man to the ground and said with contempt, "These guys are so pathetic." Then she turned to leave. She muttered with a dissatisfied smirk, "I didn't want my 200th victory to be this bland. There are no worthy opponents left in Africa. So where should I go next?" At that same moment, behind a wall, two men were hiding. One couldn't help but curse. Our elite forces were completely wiped out by one girl. The other man reminded him, "Don't think of her as just a kid. She's a monster who's addicted to fighting." He was certain of one thing: relying on their own strength was hopeless. He could only hope that that person would arrive soon. But as they were talking, they failed to notice the Night Hunter had silently appeared behind them. She sneered, "Hey boys, what are you whispering about over here?" The two men panicked and hurriedly turned to fight back. "Too late!" The Night Hunter chuckled, raising her sword to strike down. But at that exact moment, the Night Hunter sensed something rushing toward her from a distance. She instantly raised her sword to block it, but was still pushed back step by the force. The Night Hunter cursed fiercely under her breath. "Damn it! What kind of mana is this? It's as heavy as a sledgehammer." However, the Night Hunter didn't give up. She tightened her grip on her sword and swung down with all her might, slicing through the attack. The sight left the two men stunned. He mumbled in disbelief. Did she just slice through a stream of mana, that little monster?" Just then, a voice came from behind them. "So that kid is the Night Hunter." The two men immediately turned to look. The newcomer was Javi Kama, the 8th-ranked member of the South African Alliance. He ordered in a deep voice, "Get the wounded and retreat, now." With that, he squinted toward the Night Hunter in the distance, a flash of surprise in his eyes as he saw her just admiring her sword. Pouting, she mumbled, "You really startled me, you know." That last blow must have been pretty heavy. But very quickly after that, a battle-hungry smile appeared on the Night Hunter's lips. "You're the captain here, aren't you?" But Kama couldn't help but remark, "I'd heard you were a woman, but I never expected you to be this young." Hearing this, the Night Hunter pursed her lips and said with a smile, "Oh my, have you fallen for me too? That's why I always wear a mask." She even added confidently, "Everyone gets distracted by my gorgeous face so they can't fight properly." Kama was left speechless by her words. He couldn't be bothered with her nonsense and said in a cold voice, "You can feel the power gap between us, yet you still don't intend to surrender." A smile crept onto her face. The Night Hunter pursed her lips and said, "What was that?" "Running away just because one piece of gear broke. That's pathetic. I'd rather die than surrender so shamefully." As soon as she finished speaking, she summoned her mana and charged recklessly like a moth to a flame. She roared fiercely, "Dying in a glorious battle would be so much better." And just like that, the Night Hunter charged forward with incredible momentum. She launched a barrage of attacks at Kama, but he still managed to dodge them all. The Night Hunter didn't give up, pressing closer step by step. Very quickly after that, she smirked triumphantly. "Found an opening." Going straight for your groin. With that, she threw a punch, but the sight before her made the Night Hunter's eyes widen in utter shock. Because her fist had no effect on Kama at all, she cried out in disbelief. "No reaction at all." Kama stood there imposingly and said coldly, "It seems you've never fought anyone stronger than yourself. Have you always treated every battle like it's just a game?" With that, he clicked his tongue and remarked, "What a shame. You're very talented, but I'm not someone you can just play around with." As he finished speaking, Kama raised his sword to strike. The Night Hunter's expression immediately turned grim. She saw Kama's sword enveloped in a massive amount of mana. He swung down without a shred of hesitation, his eyes filled with killing intent. The Night Hunter bit her lip hard, cursing inwardly. Damn it, I can't dodge this. With a loud crash, the powerful mana-infused blade struck down. Unable to dodge in time, the Night Hunter was sent flying. Kama himself was a little surprised to be able to strengthen her arm to block in that split second. She's no pushover. I guess I'll have to ramp it up. But when Kama prepared to attack again, there was no one there. He furrowed his brow and mumbled, "Did she run away?" Meanwhile, the Night Hunter was being pulled into a hidden corner by Ayubam to hide. Seeing him, the Night Hunter asked in surprise, "Six Long, what are you doing here?" Ayubam replied in a low voice, "I heard you were in danger, so I came to save you." It turns out the Night Hunter was the red dragon that JT was looking for. Hearing this, the red dragon scoffed disdainfully. "You just show up out of nowhere and claim you're saving me." Ayubam paid her no mind healing her, as he warned, "If you keep fighting, you're actually going to die." The red dragon, displeased, pushed Ayubam's hand away and said resentfully, "Six Long, I can let other things slide, but when it comes to fighting, you stay out of it. Whether I live or die is my own business. I have to see this through to the end." Seeing how stubborn she was, Ayubam couldn't help but sigh helplessly and try to reason with her red dragon. "If you die, then our little excursion is over, you know." His words made the red dragon freeze. Ayubam continued to heal her and said slowly, "Your death doesn't just belong to you. You wouldn't want to ruin all the fun we're having, would you?" She had said she wanted to stay and have fun on this earth, so he hoped she would cooperate. Hearing this, the red dragon fell silent. After hesitating for a long moment, she finally pursed her lips and spoke. "Fine, but are we supposed to run away together or something? That guy is insanely strong. We'll be caught immediately." Ayubam calmly replied, "He'll take care of it." The red dragon was a little surprised and asked doubtfully, "He?" Ayubam chuckled softly, "I didn't come alone." That's right, if Ayubam was here, JT was surely here too. And he was standing right behind Kama, sensing the killing intent. Kama immediately spun around and asked in a cold voice, "Who are you?" Hearing this, JT's lips curled into a malicious smile. Then he replied in a deep voice, "I'm that little girl's guardian." Elsewhere in a certain forest, a blonde girl was sunbathing when she suddenly caught a scent. She mumbled in confusion, "That's strange. I clearly smell Six Long, but it's not him. The person in front of me is JT, which means the one with Ayubam is his clone." The blonde girl's eyes widened as she looked at JT and asked doubtfully, "Who are you, mister? You're not a bad guy, are you?" Meanwhile, back in South Africa, after hearing the clone JT's answer, Kama couldn't help but ask in surprise, "A guardian? That brat doesn't seem like the type who needs a guardian." While the two were talking, the red dragon curiously peeked out to look at the JT clone and mumbled in confusion, "Is that the person you were talking about?" Ayubam, completely out of options, quickly pulled her back. "It's too dangerous. You need to get back." Outside, JT's clone couldn't be bothered to explain things to Kama. It would be too tedious to explain everything. "Let's just end this here." These words shocked Kama, but his surprise quickly turned to anger. He gritted his teeth and muttered, "Who the hell are you popping out of nowhere and spouting nonsense? I absolutely will not let this go." JT's clone spoke indifferently, "But he hasn't killed anyone yet." Kama coldly retorted, "Don't mess with me." JT's clone continued trying to persuade him. "That kid won't be here for long anyway, so can't you just let it go?" Hearing this, Kama grew impatient. He tightened his grip on his sword's hilt, gritting his teeth. "You think I'll just let this go because you showed up and said a few words? This area is under SAN's jurisdiction." As soon as he finished speaking, he swung his blade, attacking JT's clone. Kama roared, as an investigator for SAN, "I will capture that brat no matter what. And I'll drag you, its self-proclaimed guardian, back to the organization as well." With that, he unleashed a powerful slash infused with mana. With a loud crash, the earth and rock were torn apart by the blade's light. When the light from the blade faded, the area was shrouded in dust. Believing he had won, Kama taunted smugly, "You're one of them with that little monster. I bet that didn't even hurt, did it?" But just as the words left his mouth, a scornful voice echoed from behind him. "How boring." JT's clone made Kama's eyes widen in shock. It scoffed, pursing its lips. Is this all the 8th ranked is capable of? Why are you so stubborn? Kama couldn't even process his shock. He had no idea when it had appeared behind him. Not daring to be careless, he quickly swung his sword, but it was too late. A stream of dark energy shot straight into Kama's body. It rendered him completely helpless. JT's clone then walked towards him. It spoke in a cold voice, "Be quiet and listen carefully." It explained that today was the unluckiest day of Kama's life. While he was trying to deal with that girl, he accidentally ran into an unforeseen monster. Kama couldn't withstand its attacks, and as a result, both of his arms were crippled. Your eyes have also lost the ability to track targets. As it spoke, JT's clone pressed its sword against Kama's eye, its tone still dark and terrifying. And you will never forget this. Kama wanted to beg for mercy, but it was too late. The clone's sword slashed across his eyes, and fresh blood sprayed out like rain. At SAN, they have healing abilities, so even if you lose limbs or eyes, they can be restored. But they won't be able to soothe the fear that has been deeply ingrained into Kama's psyche. As we can see, the power brought by fear is very effective, and JT has utilized it perfectly. After dealing with the situation, JT's clone glanced over at Zhichlong in the distance. She was now frozen stiff with fear, trembling as she muttered, "Hey, Sixlong, what is that monster?" Yubom sighed and explained, "He's not a monster, he's a person." Zhichlong, hearing that Zhichlong gave a cold laugh and retorted, "If he's human, then I'm just a lizard." But while the two were talking, JT's clone approached from a distance. It spoke in a cold voice, "Zhichlong, from now on you will live in my house under my protection. I will give you freedom. Whatever you want, I will be ready to support you." Not only that, the eyes of JT's clone turned fierce. It pursed its lips and muttered, "But if you leave my protection..." But before it could finish, Yubom hugged Zhichlong and said with a smile, "I think she's in a lot of shock right now. Let me calm her down and explain things to her later, okay?" Hearing this, Zhichlong shouted in frustration, "What is this? What are you people planning to do to me?" But Yubom ignored her, winking and smiling at JT's clone. Seeing this, the clone sighed helplessly, then turned to leave, making a cold demand. "From now on, your name is Yoram. Remember that." Zhichlong, confused, asked back, "Yoram, what's that?" JT's clone replied nonchalantly, "I'll explain later." Yubom followed behind them, smiling cheerfully. "Hey, Zhichlong, you've gotten bigger since the last time we met." Zhichlong was extremely annoyed and snapped, "This is no time for jokes, you hear me?" At that moment, JT's clone was looking up at the sky. It then connected with JT on the other side and reported, "Everything has been taken care of, Master." And at the same time, deep in the Amazon rainforest, JT received this report. He spoke with satisfaction. "Good work. I'll finish up here soon and be right back." Zhichlong has a rough personality, so it would have been hard for his clone to persuade her. It's a good thing Yubom was with them. Just then the blonde girl walked over, squatting down by JT's leg and asking suspiciously, "Who were you just talking to?" JT gently shook his head and replied, "It's nothing." She just smiled innocently and said, "Your smartwatch is amazing, isn't it?" This is Huanglong. Like all other yellow dragons, she loves being the center of attention. In her 3rd life cycle, Huanglong lived like a star, shining under the stage lights. But the one who stands out the most will always be the dragon that brings the greatest destruction. Being loved by many makes one glamorous. But with that comes countless troubles. That's probably why she's hiding out in the middle of nowhere now. But while JT was lost in thought, Huanglong excitedly called out, "Hey, this is so cool." After saying that, she jumped up and down, saying happily, "It projects a screen into the air. The image is super clear. Look, I've never seen anything like this before." JT finally couldn't hold back anymore and asked suspiciously, "Why did you run all the way out here?" His words left Huanglong stunned. JT paid her no mind and continued, "If you want entertainment, you should be where the humans are. There's nothing but animals and bugs out here." Hearing this, Huanglong cried out in shock, "Huh! How did you know?" JT answered calmly, "Saolong told me." Huanglong blinked, then said cheerfully, "No wonder I can smell her scent on you. So you know my sister Saolong." Seeing her like this, JT couldn't help but sigh. He asked in a low voice, Huang Long, are you afraid of humans now? Hearing this question, Huang Long immediately tensed up, but she quickly began to stammer in a trembling voice. It's not that I'm that scared of humans. I used to live with them. It's just... Huang Long felt like some people were looking at her strangely, and others kept following her, so she got a little scared. After saying this, Huang Long leaned back against JT looking utterly pitiful. JT glanced at her and suddenly asked, "Do you like bread?" Huang Long froze for a second, then hesitated, muttering, "Bread, but I'm a dragon, I don't need to eat." JT didn't say much. He snapped his fingers, and instantly space itself seemed to crack open. Then arms reached out and handed him a bag of bread. Seeing it, Huang Long's eyes immediately lit up. It really was bread. And there were pastries, too. Huang Long exclaimed happily, "Oh my gosh, it smells so good. Are you giving all of this to me?" JT calmly nodded. "Yeah." Seeing what was inside, Huang Long got even more excited. "How do you have so many?" "There are donuts and a blueberry tart, too. There's every kind of pastry in the world." JT glanced at her and said seriously, "Huang Long, don't stay here anymore. Come with me." He said Huang Long's friends were there, too. "And you'll be safe. You should be enjoying this journey like the rest of your kind." Huang Long, who was engrossed in eating her pastry, was bewildered by JT's words. She hesitated and mumbled, "But my mom told me not to go with strangers." Hearing this, JT made another promise. "I'll buy you more macarons." Those words were like magic to Huang Long. Her jaw dropped as she stared at JT, her eyes filled with delight. The next day, in a high-rise building, Aeolium stood on the balcony, smoking and looking down at the scene below. But her expression was anything but happy. Aeolium was thinking about what happened with Kama in South Africa and JT's demonic appearance as he dealt with him. Finally, she couldn't help but curse under her breath. "Freak." Just then, Yubom came out from inside and saw her. Seeing Aeolium standing there lost in thought, she couldn't help but call out, "Xiklong!" But before she could finish, the sound of footsteps came from outside. Yubom glanced over and immediately saw Huang Long and JT walk in. Huang Long was laughing and chatting happily. "So this is where you live, huh?" "Ah, I promise I won't ask for any more pastries." But that sausage roll was absolutely delicious. As she spoke, she popped a macaron into her mouth. The moment the sweetness melted on her tongue, Huang Long's eyes went wide in astonishment. She exclaimed excitedly, "What is this macaron? It's crispy on the outside, but melts in your mouth on the inside. This is truly the taste of heaven." Seeing the two of them, Yubom ran out to greet them. "You're back." JT gave a slight nod. Seeing Yubom, Huang Long also smiled happily and said, "Sister Sao Long." Yubom smiled gently at her. "It's been a while, Huang Long." In the blink of an eye, Huang Long had thrown herself into Yubom's arms. "It's been forever, I missed you so much." Yubom stroked her head and praised her. "You've gotten even prettier." The two girls clung to each other, talking and laughing happily. Huang Long asked gleefully, "When did you get here?" Yubom replied casually, "I just arrived a few days ago." "Xiklong is over there too. Do you want to go say hi?" Just then, a clone of JT also came out and said respectfully, "Welcome back, Master." JT nodded slightly and ordered, "You've done well. I'll call for you later. Return to your duties for now." Hearing all the noise, Aeolium also came in from outside. JT glanced at her somewhat at a loss for words, while Aeolium also wore a look of annoyance. She clicked her tongue in frustration. In contrast to her, Huang Long ran over cheerfully to greet her, "Sister Xiklong. How have you been?" "What's that smell? Have you been smoking again?" "Why do you red dragons always do things that are bad for you?" Her constant rambling was getting on Urium's nerves. She reached out and pinched Huang Long's chattering mouth shut. Urium snapped irritably, "Hey, you're so annoying, little chick. Shut up before I rip that beak of yours off." Terrified Huang Long cowered and mumbled with a trembling voice, "Red dragon, you're so mean." Afterward, the three young dragons sat down. JT sat in front of them and asked their ages. Yubom calmly replied, "I'm 20. Huang Long didn't hide it either, answering, "I'm 10. What an embarrassing age. Urium sat with her chin in her hand, hesitating for a long moment before answering. Urium 16. Huang Long, not at all ashamed of his young age, puffed out his chest and declared, "We dragons grow faster than humans, so don't treat me like a kid anymore." But hearing this, Urium just snorted mockingly. Oh, listen to Mr. Tough Guy. Huang Lung then asked doubtfully, Wait, he called you Red Dragon Urium, right? Is that a fake name? Who knows? Urium replied with a cold snort and a pout. Yubom smiled brightly and explained, That's the name he gave the Red Dragon. And I'm Yubom. Huang Long couldn't help but ask doubtfully, Huh, we haven't even had our coming-of-age ceremony, but we already have names. A dragon's name is supposed to be special. How can it be so simple? Then I guess I'm Gaun. JT nodded slightly and replied, Correct. From now on, your name will be Yuga Yun, and that egg will be Gel Well. Hearing this, Gaun was instantly stunned. She lowered her head to look at the necklace around her neck. After a long hesitation, she asked doubtfully, You know this is the egg of a blue dragon? JT calmly admitted, Yes, it's a polymorph, isn't it? It's about to hatch, so be careful. Gaun was even more shocked and asked in amazement, Oh my gosh, for a human you sure know a lot, huh? How do you know so much? JT replied nonchalantly, You don't need to know. Immediately after his tone became serious, he spoke in a low voice. Since everyone is here, I'll say this again. You only need to follow one rule. Have fun within this area, but do not go beyond the fence. Hearing this, the three young dragons' eyes widened in shock. Gaun quickly asked, What do you mean by that? JT slowly explained, There's no need to hide your true forms from me. Your recreation will be under my control and supervision. Hearing this, Urium sighed in resignation and pouted, What is this? Are you a cop or something? As soon as she said that, Yubom and Gaun both turned to look at her, making her ask defensively, What are you looking at? But no one said anything. Yubom stood up from her chair and spoke confidently. I understand what you mean. You're saying we can still go out and have fun, right? Then she looked at her two friends and asked, Do you two want to go out for a walk? After all, we're going to be living here, so we need to sort out our documents and buy some necessities. Hearing the suggestion to go out, Gaun immediately perked up, exclaiming, That sounds like fun. Urium, on the other hand, pouted scornfully. Go out? You guys don't even have any money? But just as she finished speaking, JT tossed his black wallet into Yubom's hands and said coolly, Don't worry about money, just go have fun. Hearing this, Yubom cheered up. Thank you. How much can we spend? As much as you want, JT replied indifferently. And with just that one sentence, the three of them excitedly went out. After that, it was shop, 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 swipe, swipe, swipe. The transaction notifications kept rolling in for JT. He was at home working. By the time they returned, the house was filled with a mountain of new things. Yubom apologetically brought the wallet to JT. She slowly explained, I'm sorry. We spent a little too much, didn't we? I wanted to buy you a few outfits too, but we maxed out the card so I couldn't. JT calmly shook his head. It's fine. But just then, Ga-eun's cheerful voice suddenly rang out, making JT look up. Hey, mister, take a look. She pulled out a pile of clothes and started trying them on, showing off all kinds of styles. She asked happily, What do you think, they're pretty, right? I bought so many because they were all so beautiful. And this watch, too, I bought one just like yours. JT gave a slight nod of approval. It suits you, praised Ga-eun, was delighted, winking as she smiled. Thanks. You're the best. As Urium watched them talking so cheerfully, she seemed to have something on her mind. After a moment, she raised her hand, pouting slightly. I bought something, too. Then, Urium took out the sword she had just bought to show him, mumbling awkwardly. And this, too. My old sword was destroyed. JT asked, Do you like it? You bought a pretty decent sword. Urium nodded and said, All right. Good thing we didn't buy any fakes. Ga-eun found their conversation so dull. She immediately cut in. I bought you a few outfits, too. Here, try them on. Urium saw the pile of rainbow-colored clothes and immediately turned and ran away in fear. I don't need any of that. Yubom sat on a chair, watching the two of them cheerfully running around. She glanced at JT and said with a smile, Urium isn't great at expressing her feelings, but she's very grateful to you. That's good then, JT said calmly, then looked intently at Yubom. And what about you? I didn't see you get anything, Yubom. Hearing that, Yubom smiled and replied, Oh, I bought something too. It's that thing on the table. She then pointed to the table in the kitchen. Jitae saw what was on it. He asked doubtfully, a potted plant. Yubom nodded slightly. Taking care of plants is very comforting, she said as she walked over to it. Jitae didn't understand. What do you mean? He asked. Yubom placed her hand on the flower pot and picked it up. Then she spoke sincerely. It will bloom and it will become a beautiful lasting memory. As she said this, she suddenly turned her head back and asked doubtfully, I'm wondering about something. JT frowned slightly. What is it? Yubom said calmly. As you know, what we want to do isn't just about eating and having fun. Is there a way for us to truly experience life, but still under your supervision, of course? JT nodded slightly. There is. Hearing this, Yubom's eyes filled with anticipation. JT took out a few registration forms, raised an eyebrow, and asked, Do you girls want to go to school? Ga-eun and Iriam, who were playing around, heard this and poked their heads out in astonishment. School! And so the three of them went for their interviews, not returning home until evening. Oh my God, Uriam whined as she walked. How could an interview take that long? The moment she got home, Yubom started looking around. She frowned and mumbled, he's not home. Just then, Ga-eun, who was walking behind them, suddenly spoke up. Hey, you guys, I just thought of something horrible. Hearing this, the other two glanced back at her. Ga-eun's voice was tragic as she cried out in a panic. What if you two get in and I'm the one who fails? I'll be the only one who doesn't get into Lahai. Hearing this, Iriam scolded her in frustration. Why do you always have to think about the worst-case scenario? Someone stuffed some bread in her mouth. But Ga-eun just kept moping and crying. I'm going to fail because I eat like a pig. Just then, JT returned from outside. Hearing her, he reassured her, You did very well in your interview. The moment she heard his voice, Ga-eun threw herself at him, crying, Mister, I think they're going to fail me after that interview. Jitae patted her back comfortingly. Don't worry, you're not going to fail. Yubom glanced at Jitae and asked suspiciously, Where were you? Jitae held up the bag in his hand and explained slowly, I went to get this. Ga-eun, who was in the middle of crying, caught a whiff of something and stopped. That smells amazing. What is it? JT replied calmly, It's something you like. Ga-eun's eyes immediately lit up. Is it bread or macarons? JT shook his head slightly. Something you'll like even more. In a few of his regressions, he had accidentally seen an interview where Ian was a global superstar. The MC had asked her if she knew much about her own show. Ga-eun nodded slightly. Of course. It's a show where I get to eat and chat, so I look forward to every single episode. It's a program where amazing chefs cook the dishes that I love right here on the spot. The MC then asked, So what's your favorite food? I heard you live on nothing but bread every morning. Hearing this, Ga-eun chuckled. Oh, come on. I'm still human, you know. I have to eat. After a moment of hesitation, she answered that her favorite food was fried chicken. That's why JT had bought 2 orders of it. And sure enough, the moment she saw it, Ga-eun's mouth started to water. It smells insanely good. I bet it's delicious. Hearing this, Iriam pouted and teased. Hey, you say it's your favorite, but I've never seen you eat it before. Ga-eun just grinned. Well, it's my favorite starting from now. But Iriam just scoffed disdainfully. It's just fried chicken. What's the big deal? At that moment, JT got a phone call, so he quietly stepped outside, but Yubom noticed. She quickly called out, Aren't you going to eat with us? He shook his head slightly. Don't mind me. You girls go ahead and eat. Yubom disagreed, saying unhappily, But it's more fun if you eat with us. But he still couldn't sway GT. He went out onto the balcony. GT picked up the phone. A deep voice immediately came from the other end. This is the Lee admission office. Are you GT? GT calmly replied, Yes, that's right. The person on the other end continued, I'm calling because there was a small issue with today's interview. GT frowned slightly, asking doubtfully, What kind of issue? The person didn't answer, instead asking, Haven't you received any news from Miss Yubom? He shook his head and replied, No. The person on the other end of the line quickly said, Miss Yubom received a perfect score on her interview. This slightly surprised GT. The person said that all the judges were praising Yubom non-stop. Because of that, they offered her the hosting position for the entrance ceremony. Hearing this, GT looked at Yubom inside for a long moment before asking, "Did you guys make the offer directly to Yubom?" The person on the other end quickly replied, "Yes, we were all very excited, so we offered it to her directly. The problem is Yubom refused, so they wanted to know if GT could convince her to change her mind." GT didn't hesitate to shake his head and reply, "Sorry, if that's what she wants, then that's what I want too." With that, he hung up, ignoring the other person's attempts to persuade him. Just then, Ariam came out from inside. She asked grimly, "Was that call about Yubom?" GT glanced at her unhappily and corrected her, "Call her Yubom." Ariam instinctively scoffed, her lips curling in disgust. "Damn it, that cheesy name. Are you really trying to play house at your age?" "Huh." GT looked at her confused and asked again, "What do you mean?" Ariam didn't answer, just stood there silently. After a long moment, she hesitantly asked, "Why did you bring us to Lee?" GT hadn't expected her to ask that. But he reacted quickly. He slowly said, "To give you girls what you want." Hearing that, Ariam pouted and opened her mouth. "What I want is to be able to fight. And to my heart's content until I can't breathe. Is there anyone strong there?" GT nodded slightly. "There definitely is. The strongest people in the world all gather there." Ariam pouted disdainfully. "But they're all still kids." GT couldn't help but scoff coldly. "You're a kid too." This made Ariam very unhappy. She stubbed out the cigarette in her hand. Then Ariam whipped around to face GT and said seriously, "I want to meet some people who are worthy of me." Her eyes were now filled with a fighting spirit. She smirked and said, "I know you're strong, but I want to know just how strong you are. If you're planning on controlling me, then show me what you're really capable of." Hearing this, GT frowned at Ariam but ultimately turned and went back inside, pouting. "I don't have time for this. Go inside and eat." Ariam was immediately displeased. "Hey, why are you so boring?" GT shrugged indifferently and replied nonchalantly, "Who knows?" Ariam got so mad she flipped him off, cursing in frustration, "No, my ass." While she was fuming, Gayan just had to stick her head out and poke the hornet's nest. "Sis, don't be like that. Here, try a bite of this." And so she got yelled at. Ariam snapped coldly, "I told you I'm not eating." But before she could finish scolding her, Gayun had already shoved a chicken leg into her mouth. The flavor immediately melted on her tongue. It made Ariam's eyes go wide. Then she couldn't help but exclaim, "Holy crap, this is amazing. Lee is an academy located on the prosperous island of Healing. It's unlike any other place in the world. This is a school that trains talented individuals who possess all sorts of special abilities and blessings. But the students trained at Lee are the children of CEOs, royalty, or heaven-sent geniuses. Because of this, the academy is often criticized for its overly distinct hierarchical structure. But right now, Yubom and Gayan were entering this very school. Looking at the scenery, Gayan couldn't help but exclaim, "Whoa, really is a prestigious school. I heard only the super rich and nobility can get in." After a while, she even suggested that GT might be the secret love child of some CEO. Hearing this, Yubom thought it made sense, nodding and murmuring, Well, he does kind of look the part." But she quickly cheered up and said, "But all in all, I'm just so relieved that all three of us passed." Hearing that, Gayun immediately jumped up and down. "Yeah, that's right, sis. I thought I was the only one who was gonna fail." As soon as she said that, she suddenly remembered Ariam and asked doubtfully, "But where are Ariam and the old man?" Yubom slowly explained, "Ariam has to go to the Azure Dragon Academy for her combat exam, so he went with her as her guardian." Gayun couldn't help but murmur in confusion, "A guardian." Yubom nodded slightly. "It's an adult who accompanies new students at Le so the immature superheroes don't cause trouble for them." Hearing this, Gayun couldn't help but think about Ariam's personality. She pouted and said Ariam would probably tear that place apart. If no one was there to watch her, but why does she have to take another test? Yubom chuckled softly. "I heard the major she chose requires students to have a one-on-one duel." Hearing there was a fight, Gayun got excited and exclaimed, "Oh, then we have to go watch, right?" Yubom shook her head slightly. "I already asked him, but he said no." Gayun immediately deflated, asking in despair, "Oh, why not?" Yubom gave a helpless smile. "Because it would be weird if we all went as a group." Because their appearances were so eye-catching, just the two of them had already caused the students inside Lee to stare at them this whole time. Meanwhile, at the Azure Dragon Academy's Kangtian Arena, an incredibly intense one-on-one duel was taking place. Where there are winners, there are, of course, losers. Model, beaten to a pulp and lying on the ground while the stands were packed with spectators. Of course, JT was there too, sitting quietly in a corner, listening to the people chattering around him. Just then, a deep voice suddenly rang out. "I understand the Guardian's reactions, but please calm down. You're only making the future students more anxious." Hearing the voice, everyone glanced over, murmuring in confusion, "Who are you?" The person who had arrived was a white-haired man. He immediately introduced himself. "I haven't introduced myself, have I? I am Uing Nguyen, a teacher at the Azure Dragon Academy. It's a pleasure to meet you, Guardians." Hearing that the newcomer was a teacher, the Guardians immediately started smiling and talking. "The honor is all ours. He looks so cool. And so polite, too." JT ignored everyone's chatter, focusing his attention on observing the man. Just then, a loud shout came from below. "Number 124 and number 7 to the arena." Hearing the numbers, JT glanced over as a majestic figure strode onto the stage. In her hand, she held a new sword. The next fight belonged to Eorium. She pouted with disgust as she walked. "Damn it! I hope this one won't be boring." Hearing this, the expression of her opponent immediately turned sour, but with Eorium's personality, she couldn't care less. She scoffed coldly, "If not, I'm out of here." Out of... The two of them stood on the fighting stage, their auras incredibly powerful. The students below couldn't stop whispering. One hesitated and asked, "Who are you betting on?" The person next to him immediately said with a laugh, "I'm betting on Sofia Vokova. Urium's opponent. This match is pretty formidable. Before coming here, she was part of RIL. RIL is Russia's Special Task Force of Hunters. The unit played a huge role in the Great War. They're notorious for their training methods, which are no different from torture." Just then, a burly man with a scar over his left eye suddenly shouted, "Sophia, the higher-ups have great expectations for you. You can do it. You will win." Hearing these cheesy words, Sophia couldn't help but sigh helplessly. This is so embarrassing. With her childish and mocking personality, Eorium immediately started to taunt her. "Hey, your dad's really worried about you." Sophia immediately shot her a displeased glare. Eorium couldn't care less. She pouted and said with a smirk, "Why don't you just surrender and run back to Daddy? You Daddy's boy. Oh wait, I should call you Daddy's girl, shouldn't I?" Angered by her words, Sophia gritted her teeth and cursed, "You should shut your mouth." Eorium stood her ground. Sophia's eyes were now filled with killing intent. She yelled coldly, "Or I'll really kill you." Would Eorium be scared? The answer is no. She even provoked her excitedly. "Oh, then go ahead and try." The people below were so scared by their conversation, they started trembling. Damn, this girl is terrifying. As expected from someone of the Red Dragon clan. But that red-headed girl is no slouch either. Just then, the announcement rang out again. "Contestant number 124 and number 7, take your positions." In the stands, GT watched intently. He wasn't too worried about Eorium. He was more worried for Sophia. I'm afraid that with Eorium's personality, this won't end until Sophia has lost a few layers of skin. Before long, the bell rang. The match officially began. The moment the sound faded, Sophia lunged forward like a flash of lightning. But Eorium was no slouch either. She quickly dodged. She conveniently grabbed Sophia's fist, scoffing contemptuously. "Aha, not bad speed. But try this on for size." As soon as she finished speaking, Eorium slashed down fiercely. Sophia quickly dodged. At the same time, she used a leg sweep, startling Eorium. She couldn't dodge in time and took the hit. But before she could even catch her breath, another kick came flying at her. Eorium hurriedly dodged, but the mana still tore her clothes, making her yell angrily, "Damn it, my clothes!" With that, she swung her sword aggressively. She cursed in frustration. "My mom just bought these." Before Eorium's sword came down, Sophia had already retreated. She quickly stabilized herself, then in a flash, she lunged in front of Eorium. But this time, Sophia couldn't land a hit. Eorium dodged with nimble ease, and she hadn't even broken a sweat. Immediately after, Eorium took a step back, then gathered momentum and lunged forward. At the same time, Sophia also lunged, but this time Eorium was a step faster. The sword in her hand swung like lightning. She struck Sophia. Although Sophia raised her arm to block, Eorium shattered her arm bone. Sophia bit her lip hard, letting out a soft groan of pain. But Eorium didn't stop. She sidestepped, dropped to the ground, and then appeared behind Sophia. She was so fast, Sophia couldn't react in time. Eorium smirked and said, "Hey, you stupid little girl! Did you think I was easy just because I was playing along with you?" As soon as she finished speaking, she swung her fist. A single punch sent Sophia flying 10 meters. She couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of fresh blood. Before she could even catch her breath, the tip of a sword was pointed at her face. Eorium stood before her, looking incredibly triumphant. At the same time, the announcement followed, "The match is over. Contestant number 124 wins." Hearing this, Eorium smirked contemptuously. "Acting like you're so tough. You went down in just a few moves." These words made Sophia's face turn black with rage. Eorium couldn't be bothered with her and turned to leave. Before leaving, she didn't forget to mock the elites of the world. Sophia's monkey of a father rushed over to check on her condition along with the people watching the match from outside. They were also incredibly shocked, shouting in disbelief, "Holy crap, that Sophia girl got her ass handed to her." They looked evenly matched at first, but as soon as those words were spoken, another person snorted in contempt. "Evenly matched? What are you talking about? That red-haired kid doesn't have a single scratch on her. She was just playing with Sophia." In the blink of an eye, murmurs and discussions erupted in the stands, most of them calling her pathetically weak. Some even suspected she got into RIL thanks to her pretty face. These words reached the ears of Sophia, who was being treated in the stands, making her expression incredibly ugly. The nurse, after treating Sophia, glanced at her father. She spoke up. "I've given her first aid. The girl will be fine." Sophia's father immediately expressed his gratitude. "Thank you." But just then, Sophia suddenly clenched her fists so tightly her veins bulged. She gritted her teeth and muttered, "I'm not done yet. I'm still fine." Hearing this, Sophia's father sighed. He tried to comfort her. "Sophia, you did your best. I'm sorry about this too, but with your current strength, you can't beat that kid. I'm not disappointed in you." Unfortunately, Sophia didn't hear a word he said. Her eyes, filled with a killing intent, were fixed on the knife at her father's hip, but he didn't notice and continued to console her. Actually meeting her at this stage is a blessing in disguise. "Failure will make you stronger. I'll report to my superiors myself, so you just—" But before Sophia's father could finish, the nurse suddenly cried out, "Sir, your daughter!" Sophia's father was startled. Following her pointed finger, he saw Sophia walking towards Arium, emanating a thick, murderous aura. She said in a cold voice, "I haven't surrendered yet. I was just pushed back a little. I'm still fine." At the same time, Sophia had summoned her mana into her hand. Arium, who was walking down, suddenly heard Sophia's father shout, "Where are you going? I'm not finished talking." She glanced back, and in what seemed like the same instant, Sophia's figure shot forward like a flash of lightning. In a heartbeat, she was behind Arium, viciously stabbing the knife into her back. Seeing this scene, JT's expression darkened, and Arium, seeing the mana in the knife, immediately flew into a rage, cursing, "You!" Sophia, now completely crazed, screamed nonstop, "Go to hell, you bitch!" This sudden turn of events made the students in the stands stare wide-eyed in shock. Even the Guardians were no exception. Who would have thought a girl would develop such killing intent in the arena? JT's expression was also extremely grim, a terrifying killing intent radiating from him. Down in the arena, Sophia kept the knife firmly plunged into Arium's back, only separating when they both fell to the ground. Arium reached back and pulled the knife out of her body. She gritted her teeth and cursed, "Ha! Damn it! This little bitch wants to play for keeps, huh?" But as soon as she finished speaking, Arium's eyes suddenly froze because Sophia was charging at her again, crazed. This time it was the same with mana in her hand. Arium quickly dodged. Sophia's claws swiped through empty air. "You think this is a game?" After dodging, Arium grabbed Sophia's hair. The sharp pain made Sophia freeze. Arium then spoke coldly, "You're dead." And, with that, a thunderous punch slammed into Sophia's face. Fresh blood instantly stained Arium's hand, making the students in the stands break out in a cold sweat. The fight has drawn blood, so why isn't anyone stopping it? Sophia's actions had triggered Arium's berserk button. After the punch, she immediately threw her like a sandbag and then rained down punch after punch on Sophia's face, until Sophia's beautiful face was swollen like a pig's head, blood streaming down, yet still no one intervened. But that wasn't enough. Arium picked up the knife, still stained with her own blood, and approached with murderous intent. She gritted her teeth and said, "I'm not done yet. I'm going to give you back exactly what you did to me." But before the knife could strike, someone grabbed Ariam's hand. It was Sophia's father. He roared aggressively, "That's enough. Stop it right now." Being stopped made Ariam scream in fury, "Let go of me, you bastard." At the same time, Wan in the stands also shouted urgently, "Mages create a multi-layered space. Pause the test immediately." As soon as the order was given, the surrounding mages began to cast their spells. Mana danced wildly in the air. In an instant, they had created a multi-layered space enveloping the arena. The knife in Ariam's hand had also been knocked away by Sophia's father. This made her curse furiously. "Why are you only getting mad at me? That little bitch stabbed me first." Sophia's father, displeased, took on a lecturing tone and yelled, "So, is that a reason for you to try and kill Sophia?" Ariam, who had never backed down from anyone, shot back on the spot. "So what did you want me to do? Just sit there and let her kill me?" But Sophia's father shamelessly said, "With your strength, you could have subdued her without killing her. The apple really doesn't fall far from the tree." But Ariam's rant only grew more intense. She got right in the old man's face. "What the hell are you talking about? If you're so great, go teach your own daughter a lesson. Why don't you teach your child to accept defeat when they lack ability instead of resorting to these petty tricks?" Seeing the tense situation, Nguyen went down to mediate. "Both of you calm down. You're both too agitated, and the teachers have already gone to call your guardian. Let us treat your injuries first, okay?" Eliam, still seething, scoffed coldly and cursed. "What the hell? I'm so mad my head's about to explode." Nguyen, still putting on a virtuous act, spoke up. "Of course I understand how you feel right now, but I can't just stand by and watch you make things worse." This made Eliam freeze. The first thought that crossed her mind was, how can humans be so despicable and shameless? Yet Nguyen shamelessly continued his tone, clearly a warning. "If you escalate this any further, even I won't be able to help. It could affect your entire family." As he said this, he leaned in and whispered in Eliam's ear, "By that I mean the you family. You're not the only one in your family, are you? If your relatives get dragged into this because of you, could you bear it?" Eliam suddenly thought of Yubom and Gayun. She herself might be fine, but she was worried about them. It had to be said that bastard Nguyen knew exactly how to threaten people. Seeing Eliam fall silent, Nguyen smirked smugly. "So before your guardian arrives, you should." But before he could finish, a cold voice cut him off. "No need to wait. I am Jite, the girl's guardian." Jite passed through the multi-layered barrier without a hint of hesitation. He said coldly, "Stop pressuring an injured child. Let's talk outside." This stunned both Nguyen and Sophia's father, though Sophia's father was more worried than anything. A moment later, in Nguyen's office, he brought in a tea tray and spoke enthusiastically. "This is a famous oolong tea from Taiwan. I hope it suits your tastes. They say tea helps calm the mind." As he spoke, he glanced at Jeet, whether intentionally or not, because the boy had astonished him. To be able to walk through a multi-layered space so easily, he must be a master. But he had never heard of Jite or any Yu family clan. He would have to investigate further. Shortly after, Wayne sat down in the main seat and started with a smile. "Ha ha! My goodness! I really don't know where to begin. I'm very sorry for what happened." Both Jeet and Sophia's father were displeased. Neither Ealium nor Sophia was too seriously injured. Sophia was recovering, and Ealium had already returned. So Nguyen wanted to de-escalate the situation. Turn a big problem into a small one, and a small one into nothing. This should be resolved amicably here. He said that if the two of them could reach an agreement, he would handle the rest. Hearing this, Sophia's father fell silent. But since his daughter was the one at fault, he could only apologize. "I apologize first. The fault truly lies with my daughter. I am Mihailov, Sophia Mihailov's guardian." He said Sophia was still young and impulsive, easily overwhelmed by her emotions. But before he could finish, Jeet cut in coldly. "I don't accept your apology." This enraged Mihailov, who slammed the table and shouted, "What?" But Jeet remained calm and said, "Your apology is meaningless because you're not the one who caused the trouble." Mihailov looked at him in disbelief and said urgently, "Come on now. We're both guardians of these children. I hope you'll speak more reasonably. Don't you know where I'm from?" Jeet didn't care and slowly began to speak. "But our two sides are not on equal footing. Is that how people where you're from apologize?" Mihailov, dissatisfied, glared at him. What are you implying, that I should drag an injured child here to apologize? Jeet nodded without any hesitation. Yes, that's right. Seeing the two arguing heatedly, Nguyen quickly waved his hands to mediate. Please calm down. Jite was still very calm. The one who needs to calm down is Mihailov. Jeet remained sitting coolly in his chair and questioned him in a stern voice. I didn't come here for that girl. I'm just wondering why you didn't stop her when you saw her lunging at another child with a knife in her hand. Mihailov seemed to have an answer ready, and he replied immediately. It all happened so suddenly. But Jeet didn't buy this excuse. He scoffed coldly. Suddenly? What a foolish excuse. Aren't you ashamed of using your own daughter to cover up your incompetence? The moment those words were spoken, there was a loud bang. Mihailov had kicked the table hard. He grabbed Jite by the collar and warned him, Hey, you bastard, my patience has its limits. Do you want to make an enemy of REL? As he spoke, mana appeared in Mihailov's hand, like father, like daughter. When words fail, they resort to violence. He warned through gritted teeth, You're from some family nobody's ever heard of. Unfortunately for them, today the entire Sophia family was destined to swallow a bitter pill. While he was still acting aggressive, his eyes suddenly widened in shock because the knife on his leg had been taken by Jeet at some point. Jeet then spoke coldly. This knife is very sharp. If Eorium had been just a little unlucky, things would have been much worse. Mihailov looked down at his leg in a panic. He had clearly raised his sensory perception to its highest level. Jeet ignored his reaction and continued coldly. Your sheath is too loose. That's why you didn't even notice when a child pulled the knife out. Hey, my tulip, you should avoid going into empty alleys. After saying that, he vanished and reappeared behind my tulip, startling the man. In front of him, a knife was embedded in the ground, and he had no idea when it had gotten there. My tulip's face instantly turned as black as the bottom of a pot, as if he'd just swallowed a dead fly. JT let out a soft, cold chuckle, patted the man's shoulder twice, and then left. My work here is done. I'm leaving. The atmosphere in the room instantly grew tense. Wei Nguyen hadn't expected the situation to change so suddenly. Meanwhile, JT had already quickly made his way outside. As soon as he got out, he saw Eliam already waiting. He asked with concern, Are you okay? Eliam gently shook her head and replied, It's just a scratch. I knew it. It's not that easy to kill one of us red dragons. Hearing this, JT nodded in satisfaction. That's good. But then Eliam fell silent. After hesitating for a long while, she suddenly asked, Hey, do you think I was wrong? With that, Eliam suddenly lowered her head and mumbled, It's just, I keep asking myself if everything was my fault. At the time, she'd wanted to go crazy, but after it was over, she suddenly thought she should have been more patient. But just then, JT abruptly spoke up. No, you did the right thing. His words caught Eliam a bit off guard, but JT continued calmly. If there's a next time, kill him where no one can see. His face was completely expressionless, but his words were filled with killing intent. This was clearly what Eliam wanted to hear. She watched JT's back, then let out a happy sigh of relief. Eliam quickly ran to JT's side and said smugly, Don't you go regretting what you just said. You're the one who told me to do it, you know. JT nodded without hesitation and replied, Yeah. The two of them then slowly left the area. JT suddenly remembered something. He suggested, Eliam, as soon as you get home, pack your things. Hearing this, Eliam asked doubtfully, Why? Where are we going? JT slowly explained, You'll be moving into Lille. Eliam nodded in understanding. Oh, you mean the dorms, right? That girl will probably be chirping with joy. While the two were talking, a voice suddenly called out from behind them. Eliam's guardian. Mr. JT. The two of them immediately stopped and turned to look behind them. The person who had arrived was Ui Nguyen. He spoke with feigned enthusiasm. Could I have a moment of your time to talk? JT frowned slightly and said coldly, I thought we were done talking. Ui Nguyen smiled and explained, Yes, that's right. But I have something else I'd like to discuss. It concerns student Eliam, so please let her listen in as well. Hearing this, Eliam said impatiently, I don't want to listen to any nagging. Ui Nguyen burst out laughing. Ha ha, it's not nagging. I'm bringing you a great opportunity. Student Eliam, would you like to become the new student representative for the Blue Dragon Academy? Eliam frowned slightly and mumbled doubtfully, "The new student representative?" "Yes." Oinwen nodded slightly and replied, "That's right. You'll become the face of the entire school. You'll receive a scholarship benefits from the chairman, and you'll even appear in the media." JT couldn't help but frown and ask again, "Are you sure you can handle all of this yourself, Professor Oinwen?" The professor smiled and said, "No need to worry about that. I'm actually close friends with Vice Principal Manamjun." Hearing that name, JT's expression immediately darkened. Ignoring it, Oinwen continued to speak to him. "Mr. JT, please consider this offer carefully. I guarantee you won't find a better opportunity." JT's brows furrowed even tighter. "A friend of Manamjun's, huh? Of course, because you're both demonic beings." Demonic beings, unlike superhumans who receive blessings, embrace nothingness. They are always driven by blind rage, possess an incredibly strong killing intent towards humanity, and harbor dark desires. This world was once nearly destroyed by the demonic beings of the first and second cycles. JT lost the most precious thing to him because of them. That's why he had imagined the scene of killing Oinwen with his own hands countless times right from the moment the man appeared before him. But JT endured it because Oinwen had to die with a much heavier burden on his shoulders. Suppressing the anger in his heart, JT slowly opened his mouth. "I understand what you're saying." He glanced at Eliam behind him and continued seriously. "But what's more important is the opinion of the person involved. I'm just her guardian." Hearing this, Oinwen understood. He walked towards Eliam and said with a smile, "You're absolutely right. In the end, it's her decision." As he spoke, he placed a hand on her shoulder. "The Blue Dragon Academy is about to undergo many big changes. That's why we want you to be the student representative for the event at the end of the year. Do you want to paint a new future with me?" As soon as he finished, he took Eliam's hand with an extremely sincere attitude, but Eliam bluntly refused. "No, I don't." His words left Oinwen stunned. He asked again in disbelief, "I'm sorry, did I just mishear you?" Eliam pouted and replied, "No, you heard me right." With that, she snatched her hand back and turned to leave. "Let's go home. Sir, you told me I had to pack my things." Seeing this, Oinwen panicked and called out, "Wait, then why did you even come for the interview?" Eliam nonchalantly replied, "I was lying in bed." Oinwen became even more confused, and then Eliam yawned, looking bored. "I was so bored, I just felt like picking a fight." Hearing this, Oinwen's face froze stiff. Just then, he suddenly noticed something down below. Immediately, Oinwen called out, "Student IU! Look down there." Eliam was confused, but she looked down anyway and saw a crowd of people with a bunch of equipment in their hands. She muttered suspiciously, "Who are they?" "Reporters," Oinwen explained calmly. "They're here to hear my opinion on today's incident. They're waiting out there to interview me. That also means your fate at LE. It depends on what I say. Do you understand?" But Eliam said nothing, silently looking down below. But a moment later, she turned and walked away. Her attitude was completely indifferent. "Don't get it. Bye-bye." Hearing that Oinwen was so angry, he laughed, glaring at the backs of the two as they left. A moment later, his voice turned cold. "I just hope you don't regret that decision." A moment later, the reporters waiting outside saw GT and Eliam coming down. They immediately ran over, surrounding the two of them, shoving microphones in Eliam's face and bombarding her with questions. But this action infuriated Eliam. She shouted in frustration, "What the hell is wrong with you people?" But these reporters' greatest skill was their thick skin. Even though they saw Eliam getting angry, they didn't back down one bit. They kept asking questions frantically, and the camera flashes only fueled Eliam's rage to its peak. Seeing the situation was getting out of hand, GT immediately stepped forward. "Please stop forcing a child who's injured." But before he could finish, Eliam suddenly let out a cold laugh and spoke up. "No. If they want to listen, then I'll talk." Right after that, she walked over and snatched a reporter's camera to their complete astonishment. Eliam ignored them, smirking coldly. "You ask what I'm gonna do, huh?" A few days later at the LE dormitory. It had to be said the dormitory was as luxurious as a condominium complex. As soon as Gayan stepped inside, her eyes lit up. She exclaimed in amazement, "Oh my God, this place is huge. Are we really going to live here?" Just like that, Gayan ran and jumped all over the spacious house. Seeing this, Eliam reminded her, "Hey, the biggest room is mine." But Gaon didn't really care, running straight upstairs and opening a door to check the room. The moment she saw the scene inside, her eyes sparkled like stars. Her jaw dropped as she gasped, "Holy crap! What is up with this room? It's spectacular." Gaon excitedly ran around the room. The bed was huge, the TV was the latest model, and so much sunlight streamed in. Her gasps of admiration truly echoed. Throughout the room, she smiled in satisfaction and said, not bad at all. I'm going to be really comfortable here from now on." Yes, but she hadn't been happy for long before Ilium came over and spoke up. "This balcony is perfect for smoking. This room is mine." Hearing that Gaon's happy mood vanished as she protested, "No way. I called dibs. You said you'd take the biggest room. That other room is the biggest one." But Ilium just glared at her. In the end, Gaon could only give in, mumbling dejectedly, "Fine, but I'm letting you have this room." Hearing that, Ilium nodded in satisfaction. "Good girl." While the two were fighting over rooms, someone was quietly watering a dragon egg. Yubom had a calm personality. She had quickly found her spot and went out to the balcony to care for the soon-to-hatch Jeol-ul. Yubom gave the egg a radiant smile and murmured, "Hello, little one." GT came out at the same time. He asked doubtfully, "Why are you watering it?" Yubom replied casually, "It's like prenatal education. Blue dragons love water. When it's about to hatch, the egg's protective transformation layer will be removed automatically." With that, she glanced at GT and asked, "Did you know, sir? The students at LE have only been talking about Ilium these past few days." GT frowned slightly and asked back, "Ilium? I guess the interview from a few days ago has become a hot topic." With that, he replayed Ilium's interview from the other day. Yubom, afraid Giolol would hear something it shouldn't, immediately covered Giolul's ears. "Oh my dear Giolul, you didn't hear any of that, did you?" The person in question, Ilium, was sprawled on a chair, pouting as she spoke. "What's the big deal? Why is everyone freaking out over one word? We all came into the world that way." As innocent as ever, Gaon didn't understand. She asked doubtfully, "What's sex?" Ilium tilted her head back to look at her and asked, "Why, you want to know?" Gaon naively nodded. "Yeah. Do you know about it, sis?" Urium winked and replied with a smile, "Of course I do. It's time for our little chick to learn about the birds and the bees. Hearing this." Gaon immediately shook her head in a panic. No thanks. I don't want to hear it. My mom said knowing too much isn't good." Unfortunately, Ilium wasn't about to give her that chance. Her lips curled into a mischievous smile as she said, "You don't have the right to refuse, sweetie. Let your big sis tell you all about sex." Gaon quickly backed away, trembling and muttering, "Wait, I already said." "I don't want to hear it." Urium didn't let her resist, grabbing her hand tightly, which made Gaon nod in fear. Okay, I'll listen." But the moment Urium loosened her grip, Gaon immediately screamed for help. "Mister, help me!" Unfortunately, JT just closed his eyes and ignored it. The sky was clear, birds chirped on the branches. Urium was sleeping in a large bed. Sunlight shone on her beautiful face. Suddenly, someone was running quickly up the stairs. Gaon opened the door to the room and yelled, "Sis, wake up. Something big is happening." This caused Ilium to groggily wake up. She propped herself up. What's going on so early in the morning? I was up all night. I'm freaking exhausted." Seeing this, the kid said, Hey, up all night, huh? You were staying up late watching weird stuff again, weren't you?" Ilium grinned. "Yeah, I was watching dirty movies." Gaon said excitedly, "I knew it." After that, the two went downstairs. "Anyway, now's not the time to talk about that." The kid yawned. "If this isn't important, I'm gonna kill you." "What's this?" Urium noticed. She looked at the three people with JT and asked, "What's with the gathering so early in the morning?" Rin called out, "Oh, Urium." The egg on the pillow moved. "Looks like Jian is about to be born, huh?" Then the shell cracked. The whole group focused on the egg, on the birth of a new life. The last time JT witnessed the birth of a living being. It was not a pretty sight. A weak woman reached out. "Please," she begged, "save my child." Juhi said, "It's too late, Captain." The woman cried desperately, "My baby isn't breathing anymore." Yuhi said, "It seems he passed away right after birth." JT looked at the baby. It was because of the poor environment, because the war had destroyed the hospitals. He listened in silence. If only there had been a proper medical facility nearby. That memory was anything but pleasant. JT thought to himself, I thought I would never remember that day again. But why is it coming back now? Urium noticed. Oh! A tiny arm emerged from the hatching egg, as did a pair of wings. She spoke as the baby dragon hatched from its shell. Oh, look! Its head is poking out. Yubom said gently, Congratulations on being born. Beside him, Ga-un watched excitedly as the little green dragon broke out of its egg. Gion! The dragon was carefully wiped clean. Seeing this, JT asked, You're pretty skilled at handling newborns. Where did you learn? Yubom replied, My mother used to do this for me. I should do it for him too, but... Please excuse me. He asked, Would you like to try holding him, sir? He replied, No, thank you. Ga-un said excitedly, Hey, I want to hold him. I want to hold him. Yubom handed Jian to the kid. His skin is still delicate, so be gentle. Ga-un nodded, then held him affectionately in her arms. Ah, this is so heartwarming. Ga-un suddenly had an idea. The kid smiled. Sis, you actually really want to hold him too, don't you? Hey, Ilium denied it. Whoa, what are you talking about? If you want to hold him yourself. Then the kid handed him to Ilium. Just hold him once. Come on, hurry up, sis. She was startled. Hey, are you crazy? What are you doing all of a sudden? Yubom just smiled. It's all right. Jian let out a yawn, and just like that, Urium's heart was stolen. Ga-un laughed. See, now you get why I said you should try holding him. Urium admitted, Yeah, well, he is pretty cute. Then Urium asked JT, Hey, we've all held him now. You should try too, sir. Ga-un chimed in, That's right. If you don't hold him, Jian will be sad, you know. Trying to put on airs all by yourself, are we? If you're going to provoke me, I'll just throw her. You'd better catch her yourself. If she gets hurt, it's not my problem. Ga-un is startled. You're really going to throw her? Yuri laughs. I came to this house for one reason and one reason only. You know what that is. Then she gathered her strength, preparing to throw Jian. It's to see that block of ice over there finally panic. The little girl panics. Ah, you're insane. Before she could throw her, he took Gion from her arms. Egan is flustered. My lord, that was incredible. Yerium pouts, bored. The little girl is right. You're not normal at all. Yubom asks, Since you're already holding her, why don't you try petting her, my lord? JT is lost in thought for a moment, then slowly reaches out. He gently touches Gion's forehead. Like this. Ga-in snaps a picture of the rare moment. What are you doing? The girl replies, Hey, this is such a rare sight. Moments like these have to be captured in a photo, right? Yubom picks up a rose. Then let's take a picture together to celebrate Gion's birth. Ga-ion asks, Oh, okay, but what's that flower for? Yubom smiles. It's a photo prop. This piques the curiosity of the other two and Ga-ion. A flower is placed in JT's hair and another is given to Jian, whom he is holding in his arms. Unium says, The expression over there isn't looking too good. Yubom covers her mouth and giggles. What do you think looks good, right? Ga-ion looks at the photo. Oh, it suits them both so well. He loses his patience. Hurry up and take the picture. Yubom pulls Unium over. She pouts. But do I really have to be in it? This is so embarrassing. Just take it. Unium and Jian say, Okay, get ready. 1, 2. A picture of everyone together is taken. Jian is drinking milk. All right, Jian, are you ready? JT asks, What are you doing? Yubom strokes the little girl's head. Since the semester hasn't started yet, I want to use this free time to teach her polymorph using transfer magic. Transfer magic is a spell that transmits knowledge to the other person by guiding mana into them. The recipient can usually learn without paying any price but the one transferring it risks, draining their own life force. He asks, Is that all right? Yubom lifts Gion up. It'll be hard for her to go outside in her dragon form. She explains, Urium and Ga-yu both learned polymorph in their human forms, but Gion hasn't learned anything yet. Gion waves her little hands. Because we grow up so fast, I want her to have some fun experiences before she's fully grown. JT sits down on the sofa. If you need my help with anything, just say so. She sighs. But my lord, you don't know anything about magic. Yubom says, In that case, I have one request. She continues, While I'm performing the transfer, could you stay here with us? He replies, understood. Yubom glances over. You sitting so far away makes you look so uncaring. She pats the spot next to her. Come closer, my lord, don't be shy. JT replies, that's not necessary. Yubom rests her chin on her hand. Oh, but it is. What if I get tired and drop Gion? If you're nearby, you'll be able to catch her. Yubom whines. If Gion hits the edge of the table, I won't be able to live with the guilt. He thinks for a moment, then sighs in defeat and moves to sit next to Yubom. I suppose I have no choice then. Their shoulders touch. She blushes. So, firm? JT asks. Yubom flinches. Oh, nothing. I meant the sofa is a little firm. JT says, that's strange. It's made of full-grain leather. She refocuses and presses her forehead against Gion's. A blue aura emanates from her. I'm starting now. A few days later, in front of a large, luxurious house, Yubom is sprawled on the sofa, completely drained of energy. Cough. It's done. JT approaches and says, you've worked hard. She lies comfortably on the sofa and replies, you worked hard too, having to sit next to me. Yubom listlessly gets up and starts to walk. Well, I'm going back to my room to rest for a bit. Don't forget to feed Gion and burp her. As she's speaking, she suddenly slips. If anything happens, just wake me up. Yubom tumbles her eyes wide with surprise. She falls right into his arms, by pure chance. JT glances down and says, let me take you to your room. Yubom's cheeks flush red. She presses her hands to her chest shyly, avoiding his gaze. Carrying me like a princess like this is a little embarrassing, JT says with a straight face. You can still joke. That must mean you're still fine. Yubom laughs happily and asks, am I too heavy? He gives a short but sweet reply, light as a feather. She keeps talking, leaving JT at a loss for words. My, I never knew you could say such sweet things. Inside the bedroom, Yubom lies peacefully on the bed, her breathing even. He holds the edge of the door, tilting his head to look inside. JT gently closed the bedroom door. Suddenly, a face appeared. He turned and was startled by it. JT looked at it and thought to himself, could it be that it's time? Between the sofas, a beam of light was focused. As he got closer, he discovered a small girl sitting inside. The little girl's body gradually became clear, and, with that, the light faded. As soon as the light disappeared, the little girl curled up her eyes, looking like she had just woken up. Seeing this, JT was a bit bewildered and silent. He hesitated slightly, his lips moving as he said, hello there. The District Police, a tall, large building. 3 people were crossing the street, laughing and talking. The supernatural investigation team spent months hunting those guys down and couldn't catch them. And yet you took them all down in just a few days. Did you see the chief's face? He was ecstatic. Kim Kang pulls out a shiny gold card and looks at him. Our golden boy. JT, what do you want to eat? Come on, I'll treat the whole team to a feast today. Carrara walks over and nudges his shoulder, her voice teasing, team leader. You're using the company card anyway, right? Kim Kang startled laughs awkwardly. What I mean is, let's go celebrate. JT suddenly speaks up, making the two of them freeze. I have to head home first. I have something personal to take care of. He leans down to look at him and asks, why are you ditching us again? You missed the last party too. Carrara pushes up her glasses and adds, you've been going home early a lot lately. It's really suspicious, senior. Or, do you have a girlfriend? Without looking at them, he replies indifferently, it's not that. After saying that, JT walks away despite the two trying to hold him back. I'll be leaving first. If you hate us, just say so. I'll try harder. You really don't have a girlfriend, I believe you. He's on his way. Green leaves drift down to the ground on a gentle breeze. A girl on the street is walking and chatting happily. JT, approaching from the opposite direction, happens to overhear the conversation. I told him to stop sending me those stupid texts. He immediately transforms into that girl. The ghost of the Grand Duke is now a doppelganger going to work in JT's place. In the past, the skill of the Demon Realm's Grand Duke was originally used to extend influence to distant kingdoms. But after killing its former master, it became JT's doppelganger, The sound of high heels clicking on the tiled floor echoes. JT's doppelganger has soulless eyes. Clutching a handbag, it stands still, looking at JT not far away, who is sitting on a wooden bench with his back turned. It approaches him, places a hand on its chest, and bows its head. "Master, you summoned me." The doppelganger opens its eyes and sees something that makes it pause. "Master." It looks at the little girl sitting on JT's lap and can't help but wonder, what is that? He turns his face to look at the doppelganger and replies, "It's Gion. I just took her for a haircut." It immediately understands, so the little girl has transformed into human form. Passers-by laugh and chat loudly. "Oh, what a sweet little girl. Look at her so still in her daddy's arms. That couple looks so good together, don't they?" Hearing this, the doppelganger looks at JT and asks, "If it's inconvenient for you, allow me to hold her, sir." "Master." Hearing that the little girl's eyebrows furrow slightly. Seeing this, it flinches and steps back. He puts Gion down on the ground, making the little girl sigh. "It's fine, she can walk on her own now anyway." The doppelganger doesn't say anything more and changes the subject. "But why did you bring Gion out yourself, sir? Bum, Irium, and Gayan are still at home." He immediately answers its question. Ubum is tired from the effects of the transfer spell. As for the other two, an image of a cheerful Ga Yu appears rushing forward with her arms outstretched. "Gion wanna go shopping with me." Irium, on the other hand, looks annoyed. "Don't even think about leaving her with me." JT, though angry, remains calm. They're still just kids. The doppelganger bows its head, its voice soft. "I understand." JT hesitates, then asks, "So what did you want to say?" It asks back, confused, "What do you mean, sir?" Suddenly a bright light emanates from around him. "Don't play dumb. I know you can transmit all your feelings and memories to me." The doppelganger is a bit flustered hearing its master say this. It turns its face away and replies, "It's not dissatisfaction, it's just, this humble one is questioning my purpose. Among all those who have used me, none have ever craved a mundane life like you, sir. They always wanted to use me for grander purposes, such as ordering me to kill those who needed to be killed, or helping them display their power when necessary. But my master in this life only wants to enjoy the rhythm of everyday life, which makes it difficult for a lowly being like myself to comprehend. If my words are disrespectful, I beg your forgiveness." JT listens in silence before speaking. "You are also a thinking individual, so it's understandable that you would think that way." As he's speaking, he suddenly stands up from the bench. "There will be a time when you'll need to act. For now, just keep going to work at the police station regularly. Your colleagues will miss you a lot. Go have a drink with them, have some fun." Hearing that last sentence, it becomes pensive, remembering the faces of its colleagues, because it will have to part with them soon. The doppelganger accepts the order, quickly stands up and leaves. "As you command, master." JT stands still, watching its back grow smaller in the distance. Suddenly a voice makes him glance over. "Sweetie, do you like that one a lot?" A mother and child pair walk past in front of JT. "If I knew you liked it this much, Mommy would have bought it for you sooner." The little girl beams and says, Mommy's the best." As she walks, she holds a teddy bear high in her hand. He looks down and sees Gion's eyes sparkling as she stares intently at it. JT speaks up, making the little girl turn to look at him. "Do you want a doll?" He reaches into the shallowest part of the abyss, pulls out a bear, and holds it out in front of Gion. "Here." It's a little different, though. He places the bear in the little girl's hands. A loving pink aura immediately radiates from it. Gion's cheeks flush as she looks at it, delighted. Seeing this, JT asks, "Do you like it?" The little girl suddenly sets the stuffed bear on the ground, then slowly walks over to him. Thinking Gion wants another one, JT picks her up to ask, "You want another one? I'm all out." Gion's smiling face instantly turns sad. The little girl places her two tiny hands on his cheeks. The wind whistles. Gion presses her forehead against JT's. This startles him for a moment. He wonders to himself, why is she suddenly acting like this? Or maybe... A past image flashes through JT's mind. His eyes glance down at the little girl as he thinks, could it be that she's misunderstood the magic transfer ritual as a way to show affection? A sudden thought runs through him, a girl being hung on a cross. JT's eyes fly open as if he's seen something horrific. And then the times he had to fight hordes of monsters. Despite his exhaustion, his eyes remained wide open as swarms of monsters descended from the sky like predators. His face is lightly scratched, his eyes staring blankly ahead. JT gently closes his eyes. The gears of fate begin to turn. Back to the present. He's holding Jian in his arms, and they're looking at each other. The little girl lets go, looking at JT with some surprise. He unconsciously gives Gion a gentle smile. Gion grabs the stuffed bear with one hand. With her other hand, she tightly grips JT's. The two of them walk hand in hand down the small path, the little girl humming happily. He stops and looks up at the sky, which has now turned the golden pink of evening. JT suddenly speaks, making the little girl look up confused. She's here early. From a distance, a girl with blonde hair runs toward them. "Oh, sir." He doesn't greet her back, instead asking, "Where have you been?" Ga-yun replies while hugging Gion and rubbing her cheek against hers. "I just went to the shopping district for a bit." Gion is so cute in her human form. The two of them hug, a few pink streaks appearing on their faces. The girl smiles gently and presses her forehead against Gion's. "She seems happy to have gotten a gift from you, huh?" JT holds the bear and watches them. "Can you read Gion's thoughts?" Ga-yun happily replies and explains, "Like us, when we have skin-to-skin contact, we don't just transfer mana. We can also understand each other's emotions and thoughts. Touching foreheads is the most effective way. Simply put, it's a type of physical contact used to express affection." He remembers what happened earlier and touches his forehead. "And here I didn't even know that." The girl holding the little one laughs out loud. "Hey, so there are things you don't know, sir?" JT looks at the item on her back and asks, "What's that thing on your back?" The girl glances behind her thinking. Gaten smiles, her voice hesitant. This." From inside, she pulls out a guitar and strums it for a few seconds to tune it. Gaen excitedly introduces it. "This is something I bought to convey my soul to everyone without needing to touch them." "What do you think? I look like a singer, right?" The girl enthusiastically keeps playing, making Gion's eyes light up as she watches. "I'll definitely do my best." And yet JT just watches with a completely emotionless expression. An image of the guitar and a few syringes appears. He stands there watching Ga-yun sitting amidst a pile of broken things. JT is so shaken he can't speak. The girl's face is no longer cheerful but holds an indescribable expression. Back in the present, he quietly swallows. Gayan blows on her reddened hands, not yet used to playing. JT suddenly speaks, making her freeze. "Just don't overdo it." Ga-yun, thinking he's scolding her, hurriedly waves her hands and runs after him, asking, "Why do you say that, sir?" Seeing her reaction, JT explains, "I just mean you should take it slow." Ga-yun is about to say more, but he cuts her off. "But I want to work hard." "Is Yubom awake yet?" The girl sighs and replies, "She's still sleeping. Her fever still hasn't gone down." JT, leading Gion by the hand, glances back. "I guess it can't be helped. She's been using transfer magic continuously for days." "And Ilium?" At his question, Ga-yun puts a hand to her mouth, thinking. "As for Ilium, she's been absorbed in TV dramas all day and hasn't left her room. It's the first time I've seen her so passionate about something other than fighting." Hearing that, JT feels relieved. Well, that's better than her causing trouble outside. The three of them head home. The girl leads the little one inside. "Gion, remember to wash your hands after coming in from outside, okay?" His eyes suddenly narrow with caution. Ga-yun is happily wondering to herself, "I wonder if Bom is awake yet," when suddenly JT's hand lands on her shoulder. The atmosphere around him darkens. "Ga-yun, take Gion to her room immediately. Don't come out until I call you." The girl is a bit confused and about to ask, but he cuts her off. "Huh? Why so suddenly?" "Quickly." Seeing the look on JT's face frightens her a little. "Ah, yes." The girl picks up the little one and runs straight to the room. "Gion, let's read a fairy tale together." "Okay." After watching the two of them run back to the room and confirm they were safe, JT turned toward the door. He reached out, placed his hand on the doorknob, and a creaking sound echoed. JT stepped inside the room, his face darkening slightly as he saw what was within. The room was unlit. There was only JT and 4 strangers. They were standing inside his house. One of them suddenly spoke up first. "Who dares to do this to Dragon 6? His eyes suddenly flashed, his tone threatening. Was it you, Guardian Gordon Dragons, use enslavement magic to shackle monsters? Or any human that might be useful to them, turning them into guards for their nest, also known as Knights of the Dragon Race? Some of the most elite guardians will act as bodyguards for the dragon hatchlings when they go out to play, like this lot, for example. Yubam was still sleeping soundly on the bed, completely unaware. JT looked at her and thought to himself, did he use sleep magic on Yubam? The guardian suddenly stomped his foot hard on the floor. He furiously shouted in JT's face, "Answer me! Was it you who did this to Green?" JT didn't answer, instead asking a question of his own. When you enter someone else's house, shouldn't you introduce yourselves first? The man raised an arm wreathed in black aura. "It seems you don't understand the situation, do you?" Gordon quickly launched an attack at him. Asking questions is the prerogative of the strong. Here, only I have the right to question anyone. You lowly human. JT glanced upwards. High-level defensive magic. A barrier. The man retracted his power and continued, "I'll warn you one last time." Gordon squeezed the aura in his hand. "What did you do to Green? Spit it out, human." Without a hint of fear, JT stated plainly, "Yubam has awakened." Hearing JT's answer made the man freeze. Gordon's hostility toward him lessened. Then, "Who are you?" JT put his hands in his pockets and replied, "I'm the kid's protector." Hearing this, the man let out a scornful laugh. "Protector, what a ridiculous introduction. Do you even know what it is you're protecting?" JT quickly answered, adding a question. "Of course I do, which is why I'm wondering, why are you guys so early? You should be adrift in that tearing spatial rift right now." The group spoke in disbelief. "How do you?" Gordon's group suddenly drew their weapons. "For a human, you know far too much. We are the guardians of the children and the keepers of historical causality. I'll admit you've taken care of them for us this whole time, but it seems you have nothing to do with the side of good. Letting you live will only cause disaster." JT couldn't help but sigh. "So we can't resolve this through dialogue then?" The sound of wind whistled past. "Don't worry." The group rushed at him with weapons drawn. "This won't hurt." The guardian with the sword charged forward powerfully, swinging decisively at JT. An incredible amount of power erupted from the sword, but it was quickly blocked by JT with an ordinary blade. The man was shocked, thinking, "My magic sword destroyed that easily. How can this be?" JT calmly parried the blow, his face expressionless. Then he decisively flung the man and his sword away. The shield-wielding guardian nearby saw this and shouted as he charged forward, "You pathetic fool to fall from a single trivial blow like that. We'll handle this guy. You fall back and observe." Then all the others beside him charged. Gordon, who had just been defeated, yelled at his comrades, "Wait, this guy is stronger than we expected." He then watched as his comrades were taken down one by one. They fell under JT's powerful sword strikes. When he stopped, all the guardians were lying on the ground. JT then walked over to a conscious guardian who was sitting slumped on the floor. Seeing him approach, the man thought in a panic, "I suspected it from the very beginning. An ordinary human taking care of dragon hatchlings. He even knew about our existence. I should have realized it sooner. He's a transcendent being we can't possibly touch." As JT got closer, their eyes met. Then JT suddenly let out a sigh. The sword in his hand vanished. "I already offered to negotiate, you know." Gordon suddenly asked, "Is this world under your rule, my lord?" JT calmly replied, "Answer my question first. How did you all survive when space was bent?" Gordon looked at him and explained seriously, "Due to a spatial distortion." Then he remembered what happened before. A group of guardians with a large dragon. Our master opened a gate to connect the nest and this world. But for some reason, the dimension was warped and we were thrown out into space. JT said, "Explain more about this spatial distortion." The guardian replied, "I don't know the details. But according to what our master once mentioned, there's something called the horizon of fate. The spatial distortion was caused by energy from that place. It's as if all dimensions are being swirled around it." Hearing that, JT thought with suspicion, "That's strange. I've never heard of a concept like the horizon of fate before. So what does it have to do with them appearing here?" Could it be that the horizon helped them get here? This is different from before. This is the first time Yubom's guardians have come looking for me." Then he gave a cold glance to the guardian who was slowly crawling up and said somberly, "I need to know how you all got here. How did the horizon help you get here, model?" That guardian continued to explain, or more precisely that a will had crossed that boundary and was helping us. JT was confused. A will? The guardian said it felt like an invisible force was guiding them. It led me to gather the other guardians and find where the young dragons were hiding. Hearing this, JT said, "Let me check something." Then he gently placed his hand on that guardian's head. He leaned in slightly and said, "Look straight into my eyes. The Libra Eye skill is one of the 3 powers I took from the Demon King, an eye that distinguishes between good and evil truth and lies love, and hate seeing the true nature of things." After a moment, he closed his eyes and said, "So you were telling the truth." JT thought to himself, "I've already dealt with every threat to this world." Now JT was angry, his eyes wide. "I've checked this space countless times. Why is there still a loophole?" That guardian spoke again. "About the will from beyond the horizon. It carries an indignation like a curse. Perhaps because I carry a gem core created from Yubom's power, I was able to sense it." Hearing this, JT slowly reached out his hand, then decisively pierced through the guardian's armor and pulled something out. He cried out in pain. Next, JT forcefully ripped the armor, revealing a hole. Something was glowing inside. JT was shocked. "This is..." Suddenly, numerous glowing chains shot out from that spot. Power Chrono Authority X has detected an annihilated timeline. Power Chrono Authority X has identified a hostile element. This power forcefully rejects anything outside the 10 main timelines. Then, the chains formed an hourglass. It will hunt down all entities possessing a separate timeline. This power, which was once dormant, has now been activated. The hourglass fell into JT's hands. He thought, confused, "But I can't interfere right now. All I can do is wait." The other guardian saw this and began to whisper. That strange light turned into an hourglass. Sorry. Well, it's fine for now, I guess. JT turned back and said, "So what are you all going to do now? The young dragons are already under my protection. It's useless for you to be here. The enslavement magic has been broken by the dimensional distortion. What reason do you have to stay?" A guardian asked, "Are you setting us free, sir?" JT replied, "As long as you don't cause any trouble." Then they stood up one by one, saying, "Then I'll take my leave." "Us too." JT calmly closed his eyes slightly and uttered, "Go on." But the guardian whose armor he had torn said with difficulty, "I cannot leave." Now JT understood. He asked, "You're not leaving?" He replied decisively, "Yes, because I am the keeper of causality." Before he could finish, JT punched him hard to the ground. JT slowly walked over and said, "I'll ask again. You still refuse to leave, That guardian answered resolutely, "I cannot." JT placed his foot on the man's chest, unleashing a powerful force that shook the entire room. He asked coldly, "Last time, still no, The guardian looked at him and replied weakly, "I cannot." The guardians behind him commented, "It's useless talking to him. He's always been stubborn. To be faced with freedom and not dare to take it. What an idiot." JT glanced over, thought for a moment, then turned his face away. He said, "Fine. At least you're worthy of being a guardian." A sword slowly materialized in his hand. The 3 guardians were surprised. A while later, the room was in chaos. The guardians who desired freedom were now dead. The stubborn one who wouldn't leave struggled to his feet, wondering, "Why? Did you only spare me? Were you testing us, sir?" JT calmly replied, "Not exactly. More like I find you rather interesting. Why are you so insistent on protecting Yubom?" He immediately answered, "It is because my loyalty to the Yubom family is absolute." JT said, "Loyalty is good, but Yubom is already under my protection. You're weaker than me, so what right do you have to protect her? However, there is a role that suits you quite well." Hearing this, he curiously raised his head. Later in another place, Gian and Urium were standing there when JT said, "Say hello." He appeared with the guardian from before, who was now wearing an apron. JT said, "This is my new maid." The guardian's face showed reluctance and helplessness as he thought to himself, a maid in this cozy kitchen space. The clattering sound of dishes being washed by a smart robot echoed. It carefully washed each dish, creating foam to clean them. The smart robot, not so different from a human, spoke up in its own way. He turned and retorted, "What a maid, are you kidding me, sir?" JT snapped. "You don't like it." The stubborn guardian argued back, "What does protecting dragons have to do with cleaning? My head isn't smart enough to understand this." JT slammed his hand on the table. "Like I said yesterday, I alone am enough to protect the dragons. Letting you stay was just a concession. If you don't do your job as a maid, well, I'll erase you immediately, so you'd better try to prove your worth." The sullen guardian returned to the kitchen area sighing. "How did I end up in this situation?" Just then, Yubom approached with a sweet voice. "You're the guardian from Asaliba, right?" He was surprised. "Miss Yubom, is your health all right?" She smiled. "Yes, it's just a bit of fatigue. So I hear you're staying on as the housekeeper." The robot's voice turned sad. "I suppose so." Suddenly, Yubom chimed in with a compliment. "That apron suits you. From now on, please take care of us, Mr. Housekeeper." Oh my, being praised by a girl made his cheeks flush red with embarrassment. At that moment, the robot's hands holding the dishes trembled slightly. Cleaning or washing dishes. "Please leave everything to me, my lady. I won't let you dirty your hands with such work." Who would have guessed that a second later there'd be the crash of shattering dishes? She spoke up. Those were quite expensive, you know." Jian in the little blue bear outfit is so adorable. Next up is the school uniform giving off an innocent, youthful vibe, or the lovely, magical evening gown worn by the little girl. Gaen watched the system screen with sparkling eyes and squealed with delight. "She's so cute." "When did you buy these, sis?" "They're so beautiful." Ayubam replied, "I ordered them right after she was born." "Gian, do you like them?" Seeing her delighted expression, she teased, "You definitely do." She grinned from ear to ear. "Mr. Housekeeper, which outfit do you think is the prettiest?" The robot replied, "To me, Gian looks adorable in every outfit." The little girl laughed loudly. "That's a good answer." He opened his mouth to thank the little girl. At that moment, no one noticed JT's face so serious it looked like it was turning black as soot. Who would have guessed his gaze was fixed on the happily laughing child? This guy is such a smooth talker. On her fair hands, red patches appeared, catching JT's attention. He angrily yelled, "Are you still playing the guitar?" Gaen hurriedly replied, "No, sir. Just a little bit, every now and then." Ayubom was also curious. "Gaen plays the guitar because she likes it. Is there a problem, sir?" He replied in a low voice, "I didn't say anything. Speaking of which, Eliam has been missing all day. She's probably still buried in her games." She stammered. I guess so." The housekeeper spoke up. "Actually, I tried to clean her room earlier, but she kicked me out. But she looks so pale. I'm really worried." "Her skin was deathly pale, miss." And Uriam snapped, "Leave me the hell alone. Get out, you useless thing." Hearing the robot's account, Ayubom said, "She probably just stayed up all night watching movies." JT's narrow eyes glanced at her as if he wanted to say something. Then with a stern expression, he walked to Uriam's door. His eyes peered inside, his anger intensifying. It was as if he'd seen something completely shocking. Beer bottles were strewn all over the floor, along with a horrifyingly full ashtray. Just then, Ilium, with a cigarette dangling from her lips and chewing on a piece of meat, spoke up. "What is it?" Suddenly, JT cut her off. "I just came to check if you were still alive." Just then, the sound of "For the Motherland" came from the TV. He glanced at the screen skeptically. "You watch this stuff all the time." Iriam was surprised. "Have you ever seen it, sir?" JT was blunt. "No." She enthusiastically explained. "There are 7 seasons, but the plot is terrible and the setting is complete garbage." JT said in a low voice, "Then stop watching it." Ilium frowned. You're a real genius, aren't you, sir?" Suddenly, he turned to leave and said, "Come outside, we need to talk." After that, JT gently picked Jian up in his arms and announced, "All right then, starting now, we're doing a deep clean." Hearing this, Iarium complained, "A deep clean." Gaen was puzzled. "Why so suddenly, sir?" He began to explain. Even though none of you are ordinary humans, while you're living in the human world, you need to maintain proper hygiene, especially you, Eorium and Gaiun. Your rooms are disgustingly filthy. Hearing her name called out, Gaun shrieked, How did you get into my room? My mother taught me not to trespass in other people's nests. JT casually retorted, And did she teach you to live in filth? The girl wailed, That's not the point. With a serious face, he continued, The living room and kitchen are the housekeeper's responsibility. You will clean your own rooms. Ariam stood up, picking her nose. This is ridiculous. We already have a housekeeper. Why should I have to clean? Seeing this, Gain sneered, Ew, that's so gross. Is that so? She said, quickly wiping her hand on Gain's face. Here, have some. After that, Gain's piercing scream echoed through the house. As Aeolium left the room, Gain held her face, crying her eyes out. I hate dirty things. To which Aeolium added another taunt. You say you hate filth, but your room is a pigsty, shorty. I'm going to practice now. Clean my room for me while I'm gone. I'll check it when I get back. The robot quickly replied, Yes, ma'am. And Ayubam also stood up. I already cleaned yesterday. I'm heading to the night market now. Our house is full of people now, so I should cook a feast. Hearing her report, JT nodded enthusiastically. Yes. But as the memory surfaced, his face turned pale, remembering the food she had made. Ayubam cooked. Ayubam smiled warmly. Is there anything you'd like to eat, sir? Is there any dish you're craving? He quickly blurted out, No, just go. Meanwhile, at the maid's feet were scattered shards of beer bottles, but even it was speechless upon seeing the state of this room. Then the robot spoke up. Even though I don't have a nose, I can still smell the stench. This is truly hell. No, it's worse than hell. But Earium looked just as pale. It's iso. What is this pot? Is she training her poison resistance? After observing its surroundings for a moment, it decided, All right. First, the large piles of trash. JT approached and said, Aren't those cans and plastics? They need to be sorted separately. You're a housekeeper, and you don't even know that basic rule. Does Escaliba not have the concept of recycling? Truly a lawless land. It frowned, thinking others might not know, but I can recognize this. This is demonic energy. Could it be a clone of the master? He said sarcastically, Are you just going to stand there staring, planning to pull an all-nighter? The robot obediently nodded its head repeatedly. Understood, sir. It looks exactly like the original. Just then, the real JT walked over and said, I told you to clean. What are you two doing? The JT demon clone replied, You've arrived, my lord. I was just instructing the housekeeper on its duties. The robot trembled, not daring to speak. Hearing that he was a Count, JT said in a low voice, Don't just stand there pointing your finger. Get in there and work with him. I was worried he couldn't clean Iarium's room by himself, so I called for you. Me. The JT clone was stunned. Me, sir. In the home gym, Earium was lifting weights in his workout clothes. Ayubam, on the other hand, was busy looking for fruits to cook with. Gaeun was trying to stuff clothes into the closet. Everyone was working hard to clean the house. The sky had turned a shimmering golden orange. It enveloped the JT family mansion. The JT demon clone came to report. It's all done, my lord. He replied, Good, this is where you need to go. I don't know what he saw that made. The JT clone was astonished. On the computer screen was a satellite display of the Northern Hemisphere. The real JT spoke up. Moscow. He explained, the Phantom Organization is researching a super demon, a comment type here. After you finish up with the police this week, fly to Russia. JT emphasized, find prototype X for me. The JT clone replied firmly, as you command. I will prepare at once. At that moment, with a bright face and a sparkling smile, Ayubam walked in. I'm back, everyone. A robot smiled gently, greeting the young lady. The ever-energetic Ayu piped up, Wow, miss you bought so much. Ubom, carrying 2 bags in each hand, replied, Well, with so many mouths to feed, I have to cook a lot. JT's double stepped forward and said, Ubom, you're back. I'll be taking my leave now. JT stopped him. Wait, he commanded in a stern voice. You will switch clothes with me, right now. On the dining table, some rather strange dishes were laid out. Ayubam spoke up. Enjoy the meal, kids. Ayu stared intently at the soup. This soup tastes just like the one from Azaliba. Eliam added, "It's not bad." The little girl asked innocently, "Wouldn't it be nice if the housekeeper ate with us?" The other girl yelled, "How can she eat without a mouth, you idiot?" At that moment, JT's double was disguised as the real JT. The real one was sweating bullets staring at the food. "Master, did you make me sit here just for this?" "Yes." In the thick, hazy atmosphere of an abandoned industrial area near Laco, a man with a demonic, constantly bleeding mouth screamed curses. He looked straight into JT's eyes and raged, "You think you can pull this crap and just walk away? How dare you, you lowly human? Do you have any idea who's backing me?" Before he could finish his sentence, JT slashed him across the stomach. Watching the man fall to the floor with a thud, JT spoke, "Yeah, I know exactly who." He then grabbed the man by his hair, pulling his head up. Professor Gunn of the Azure Dragon Academy right. Or should I say, Demonkin Gunn of the Formless. What is gun plotting? What are you trying to pull? At that moment, JT activated his Heavenly Dragon Eye ability, his voice laced with threat. "Don't lie to me, spit it out." The man, his face twisted and covered in dark red blood, trembled. I don't know the details, but he said that in 3 months, if the plan succeeds, he would be chosen. JT's voice was low. "Chosen? You mean for a seat? Don't you?" The man replied hastily, "Yes, that's right. The seats are reserved for only 4 elite demonkin chosen by the Formless. Normally, demonkin operate in small groups, but those who attain a seat command their own army and reach the highest level in the system. A disaster-level power ranking among demonkin." JT pondered. This is strange. In previous loops, Gunn never attained a seat. Moreover, at this point in time, he shouldn't be capable of planning something like this. Suddenly, he detected something unusual. Kronos Authority X has detected malice from beyond the horizon. Kronos Authority X. Due to a team's existence outside the target world's timeline, Demonkin Gun has been influenced by an entity dissatisfied with the regression loop. An entity outside the world's timeline. Demonkin Gun has escaped the regression cycle, carrying over the most elite elements from the previous loop. First the Guardians, and now Gun. Is everything related to me being interfered with? While JT was lost in thought, he heard the man call out, "Hey, that's all I know. But if you spare my life, sir, I can dig up more information. My mother is sick at home waiting for me. I won't betray you, I swear. Please spare me." But unexpectedly, JT showed no mercy and sliced off the man's head, which fell straight to the ground. JT used his Heavenly Dragon Eye to generate a murderous aura. "I already told you, lying to me is useless. And even if that was the truth, you still had to die." The abandoned house reeked of the thick smell of blood. Annihilate and incinerate. As night turned to day, a new fresh morning began, filled with the cheerful chirping of birds. He walked through this crowd, his mind racing. If Gunn has a grand plan to attain a seat, it's highly likely that plan involves Laco. JT recalled the moment Gunn spoke to Eliam. "Could you represent us and lead the year-end event?" The year-end event. That must be related to his scheme. Suddenly a voice rang out, "Oh, what an adorable baby!" In the middle of the park, everyone was excitedly looking at Ayubom and Gion. They all praised Gion. "I've never seen such a cute baby." "What's her name?" Ayubom replied, "This is Gion." People passing by always complimented the little girl. "Her eyes and hair color are so beautiful." "How old are you, Gion?" Suddenly, Yubom noticed JT's arrival, her eyes widening in surprise. JT's voice cut in, "What do you people want with the child?" The sharpness in his eyes made everyone shake their heads in fear. Nothing." Yubom spoke softly. "I didn't see you all day, sir. Where have you been?" He replied, "Just had some business to take care of." "And you? Why are you with Gion?" She tilted her head and answered, "I've been sick lately, so I haven't had time to play with her. And school starts again tomorrow. I was afraid we wouldn't have another chance to play together." He replied, "I see." Yubom's bright eyes and friendly smile met JT's. She saw that perfect side profile, his straight, attractive nose. Suddenly, she spoke up. "Us like this? Doesn't this look just like a family? Gion is your daughter, and I'm her mother. If we go by that scenario, then we would be..." Just then, little Gion was looking at them with her clear, innocent eyes. Yubom expressed to him that, and so... You and I would be. JT just remained silent, not saying a word. It was as if he was deep in thought. Whatever Yubom was thinking, she smiled shyly. Seeing how serious JT was, she quickly tried to defuse the situation. I'm just kidding, just kidding. Why are you so serious? He said sternly. If you're going to keep talking nonsense, just go home. Then JT picked the little girl up and walked ahead, asking caringly, Did you have fun? Yubom watched his retreating figure from a distance, a thoughtful look on her face. The sky had shifted to a yellowish-orange glow, looking so romantic beneath the beautiful cherry blossoms. Students in their neat uniforms filled the scene. Girls hurried across the street, trying to make it to class on time, as cherry blossom petals drifted down all over the academy grounds. It created a picturesque scene. At that same moment, Gayan was huffing as she gnawed on a piece of bread, rushing along with flushed cheeks and a bright smile. I'm finally going to school. What class are you in? I wish we were in the same class. Yubom smiled. I'm taking superhero studies, magical literature, and sociology. By the way, Gayan, I've been wondering, why do you keep holding that sandwich in your mouth? Didn't you already eat at home this morning? Suddenly, the little girl smiled shyly, her cheeks turning red. You don't know. Mom said that if you're holding a sandwich in your mouth on the way to school, and you bump into someone, Gayan revealed the secret, then that person is your soulmate. As she said this, the little girl's eyes sparkled like stars full of hope. Who would have guessed that right as she was passionately explaining this, she'd bump right into Eliam? How romantic, oof. Eliam joked, Man, I wish I had a soulmate like that. Oh dear. To think I'd bump into little Gayan. So does that make me your soulmate? The little girl cried out, Huh, but you're a girl! Eliam quickly snatched the piece of bread and popped it in her mouth. So what I've seen plenty of Western movies where girls kiss each other. The little girl screamed, My sandwich! And then remembered, By the way, where did that guy disappear to this morning? Isn't he supposed to be observing us? Gayan replied, I think he said he was going to the office first to confirm something. Eliam laughed loudly, I didn't see him come home yesterday either. He probably went off to meet some girl. Gayan was stunned. No way. He's not that kind of person. Gayan then asked, What's wrong with you? Why are you suddenly sweating so much? Just then, the little girl seemed to notice something. That's weird. Gayan asked curiously, Who are those people? They don't look like students, do they? Who else would it be? Must be reporters. Eliam spoke up. They're probably here to take pictures of the more prominent freshmen. Yubom quickly tried to slip away. Hey, I'm going to head in first, okay? Just then, a boy turned his head slightly and noticed something. The surrounding crowd started murmuring, Isn't that girl Eliam? It is the one who defeated Sophia and made that world-shaking declaration. Oh, that's right. It's the one with the red hair. Eliam froze and cursed under her breath. Instantly, camera flashes went off in her face as the reporters swarmed her asking, Are you Eliam? Please, just give us a quick interview. Look over here for a second. Please, just answer a few questions. Gayan timidly hid behind Eliam. What's going on? What's wrong with you people? Just then, Eliam's mouth opened wide and she screamed. Her furious shout was ear-splittingly loud across the school grounds. Eliam raged, Hey, you reporters! Wasn't the answer I gave you last time good enough for you? Fine, I'll take you all on one by one, she said without hesitation, flipping them the bird. Bring it on. You bunch of parasites. Jian woke up in a daze. When she was fully awake, she saw that the house was empty. The little girl kept staring intently at the door. Seeing this, Gordon grew anxious. He was flustered. This is so awkward. But DJT had already warned him, the kids have gone to school. I won't be home either. Today, it'll just be you and Gion at home, so be careful and keep a close eye on the child. Gordon scratched his metal head. He never expected a mission harder than cleaning. I've never babysat before. He called out, Hey, little girl Gion. The little girl turned around, her sparkling eyes looking at him. Gordon stepped forward, explaining like a professional butler, The other young ladies and the master of the house won't be back until this evening, so you shouldn't wait for them. Okay, why don't you find a comfortable place to sit and rest, miss? Jian heard him, but didn't reply. The two just stared at each other for a moment. Finally, the little girl coldly turned away, leaving him rooted to the spot. He panicked internally. How embarrassing! Seeing that he couldn't persuade Jian, Gordon dejectedly walked away, intending to start his usual work. Oh well, I guess I'll just go clean then. Suddenly, he looked towards the middle of the living room. His eyes lit up as he found a solution to the impasse. Once again, Gordon approached Gion. Ah, Miss Gion. In his hand was a book. Gordon asked cautiously, "Would you like to read a fairy tale with me?" Luckily, Gion agreed. The two of them went to the reading room together. The little girl's sparkling eyes lit up as she looked at the world inside the pictures. Seeing such a positive reaction, Gordon rejoiced silently. Thank goodness! It seems she's interested in fairy tales. In that case, I'll read to you, miss. The story began. The title was, My Dad is a Fairy Godfather. Gordon started to narrate, once upon a time in a faraway forest. Suddenly, the bright story became distorted. If it's an ancient forest, it must be from the era before the demon world, some kind of primeval forest. The story continued, and there lived a little girl named Donuni and her father. Then Gordon added another unnecessary comment. It seems the little girl's mother has passed away, but Donuni is lucky. Back in those days, just having one person left alive was already a miracle. Before bed, her father would tell her old stories every day. The story could no longer maintain its original innocence. Interesting. If they're old stories, they must be about the Great War, right? Gian was looking at him with a disgusted expression, but he kept rambling on. So Donuni must be a war junkie, huh? Gordon continued to narrate enthusiastically. Then one morning, when she woke up, Donuni discovered her father wasn't home. Perhaps he went to find a new mother for the little girl. I heard that back then, there was a culture of taking prisoners of war as concubines. If Donuni gets a new mother, she'll probably be very happy, Gordon concluded. Anyway, Donuni. Suddenly he noticed something was wrong. Gian was glaring at him with disgust. Gordon was bewildered. What's wrong, miss? Do you not like the content of this story? John didn't answer. She pointed to a far corner of the room. Then she pointed back at Gordon. She repeated the action over and over. He was being banished to a corner by the little girl. He sat huddled, not allowed to touch the book. Meanwhile, in the city center, a luxury car was cruising down the street. From inside the car, a pair of elegant legs stepped out. All the male students at the school had to turn their heads to look at the person who had just stepped out. The girl gracefully touched up her makeup. Her name is Gong Juhi, the heiress of the Gong clan, one of the 3 great swordsmanship families of Korea. But right now, she was more concerned with her beauty than her sword skills. Juhai grumbled, Ugh, sword practice makes you sweat. It's so annoying. It ruins my makeup, too. Yuhi saw a group of reporters up ahead. What's that? Are those reporters waiting for me? She feigned weariness. Secretary Kim, you know I don't like being the center of attention. Take care of it for me. Secretary Kim, from behind her, reminded her, It seems they aren't here to photograph you, miss. Hearing that, Juhi was surprised. Annoyed, she pushed through the reporters. Then who's here that they're not taking pictures of me? Suddenly, Juhi fell silent. She was stunned. So beautiful. The ones being swarmed by reporters were Uriam and Gaian. Meanwhile, Uriam was sitting on the back of a male student. Gayun asked shyly, But, sister, why has that person become your chair? Uriam replied gently, I don't know either. They volunteered. She checked on him. You doing okay? Don't come crying to me later, all right? The male student replied cheerfully, Yes, of course, I'm your fan. Uriam wondered, Fan, what nonsense is he talking about? A reporter approached. Well then, student Uriam, may we begin the interview now? The arrogant Uriam replied, If you're not going to follow the order, then forget the interview. I'll just leave. 1 question each, then get lost. She signaled, All right, let's start with you, the guy in the hat. Hello, student Ilriam. I'm from TT Television. Ilriam cut him off. Your introduction is too long. Next. The reporter yelled, Hey, I wasn't finished. But another reporter immediately jumped in. I'm from CT FAP. You've recently become a hot topic in the superhero world with many people looking you up. How do you feel about that? She answered curtly, Next. Another reporter approached her. Are you aware that a fan cafe was just created for you? Please say a few words to your fans. The guy kneeling down was overjoyed. The reward is here. She didn't pay him much mind. So it's this guy? You call yourself a fan of mine, huh? What a bunch of lunatics. Another reporter introduced himself. I'm Park Kang-ho from Jisan News. A strange foul odor emanated from his obese body. He was constantly wiping away sweat. That one phrase you said at the Blue Dragon Academy interview, what did it mean? Ilrium answered while pinching her nose. You already know, so why ask? Is your mind filled with nothing but that stuff? She whispered, Ugh, what is that smell? He kept pressing, Don't be like that. Explain it clearly. Out of all the words in the world, why did a little girl like you choose that one? Ilrium frowned in annoyance. The reporter was looking at her with a perverted expression. Is there some other hidden meaning? Ilrium didn't let it slide and immediately cut him off. Hey, reporter! Ilrium challenged him. Do you want to do that with me? Kang Ho was stunned. He stammered. Don't be like that. Ilrium's face darkened. You know I was just kidding. If you knew it was a joke, then why did you keep twisting my words? Seeing her anger, the reporter still wouldn't stop. Perhaps because student Ilrium is still young, you don't understand, but this is just what being a reporter is like. So if you cooperate, I'll write a nice article for you. Furious, Ilrium lunged forward and grabbed the reporter by the collar. Oh, for crying out loud, you! Do you think I'm just gonna put up with you forever? Behind them, a panicked Gayan said, Hey sis, just ignore them. Let's go inside. Kang Ho's camera was still capturing every moment of Ilrium. He rejoiced inwardly, yes, act aggressive like this. This will get the views up. But it's still a bit of a shame. Maybe I should provoke her a little more. As soon as he thought it, he did it, continuing to taunt her. If you keep acting like this, I'll be forced to write the article based on my own interpretation. For example, Ilrium Center of Controversy demands sexual relations with reporter A. Ilrium clenched her fists. Fine, go ahead and write it. She charged furiously at the reporter. But first, you're going to die by my hands. Gaen chased after her, trying to stop her. Ilrium. Suddenly, her punch was blocked. JT had appeared just in time to handle things before Ilrium could take it too far. Gaen sighed in relief. You're right on time, sir. JT looked at Ilrium and asked, Causing trouble the moment you arrive. Ilrium screamed, It's not my fault. It was that pig over there. Seeing that Ilrium was unable to calm down, JT decisively picked her up and carried her away. Ilrium struggled, but it was useless. What the? Let me go, JT then announced to the reporters. The interview is over. Before leaving, he added a threat. And it would be best if you people didn't report this. A wave of power was released from JT as he walked away angrily. His steps were so forceful they cracked the ground. Kang Ho retreated in fear as his interview equipment burst into flames. Ilrium stared blankly at what JT had just done. The three of them walked off under the gaze of many people. JT warned Gaen, If you don't want to be late for your first day, you'd better get inside now. Yes. Gaen scurried after them. Yes, sir. Gongju-hee witnessed the entire incident. She was stunned. Did you see that just now? Secretary Kim understood her meaning. Shall we investigate their family background? But Ju-hee wasn't interested in that. I wonder where that blonde girl with the huge chest is. Inside the classroom, the teacher began to introduce himself. The professor smiled cheerfully. Welcome, students. I am your swordsmanship teacher, Kaido. Today's lesson will be about the history of swordsmanship and the proper attitude when holding a sword. Ilrium watched with a bored expression. What, the attitude of holding a sword? Hurry up and teach us how to fight. JT seemed surprised. Well, this is a surprise. I thought you'd get so bored with the lesson that you'd run away immediately. She sighed. What are you talking about? I've sat through incredibly boring movies until the very end. She said seriously. For my own benefit, I have to work hard until I can defeat that bunch of hat-wearing pillars. Just you wait. The day will come when I defeat him. She then wondered, Oh, by the way, why are you in the same class as me? Go hang out with the other losers. JT replied nonchalantly, You know the reason better than I do. Ilium raised an eyebrow. Hey, now I haven't caused any trouble. I've been on my best behavior lately. JT reminded her, Have you already forgotten about punching that reporter earlier? Urium flinched, still trying to defend herself. It was that pig's fault. He kept annoying me, just trying to get a rise out of me. You wouldn't have been able to stand it either if you were in my position. As she spoke, Urium inched closer to JT. He warned her, Don't touch me, I'm hot. But Urium just provoked him cheerfully. Oh, what's wrong? Most men are suckers for this kind of physical contact, you know. Or are you just shy? Faced with Yeriam's teasing, JT just remained silent. Not getting the reaction she wanted, a disappointed Yuri slumped onto the desk. So boring. Only then did JT speak. Studying is supposed to be boring. Yuri denied it. It's not the studying, it's you. She lay slumped over the desk. For a kidnapper, you're not interesting at all. Ariam recalled, at first I thought you were unhinged too. I was expecting some dopamine-fueled days ahead of me. Ariam pouted, but I never expected that you'd be playing this kind of family game. JT replied, the stuff that happens on your way to school is exciting enough. Remembering the old incident, Iliam got annoyed. Not that kind of frustrating stuff. I'm talking about fighting, killing, and getting drunk on victory. Suddenly, the teacher's voice rang out from behind her. Oh, ho, it looks like our student Iliam has an itch to scratch. For times like these, I have a great idea. The teacher made a suggestion. Stay after class with your guardian, please. Iliam's face contorted when she heard the request. After school in the gym, Eoriam was holding a wooden sword, wiping it with all her might. The more she wiped, the angrier she got. Uriam sprang to her feet and threw the sword down. The more I think about it, the more pissed I get. Why do I have to clean this thing? I want to fight. Across from her, JT was also cleaning. He calmly advised her, instead of complaining, just get it done. Iariam retorted irritably, why don't you just call that guy from the house to do it? He loves cleaning after all. JT asked back, then who would watch Jayon? She clicked her tongue, dropping it. And that blue kid is so clingy too. Eliam changed the subject. I have a question. Did you ever go to school when you were a kid? While wiping his sword, JT replied, there was no time for a proper education. Seizing the opportunity, she teased him. What? So you're an idiot too. Not having time for school is usually just an excuse, isn't it? Haha. He simply replied, it was wartime. I was too busy trying to survive. Hearing this, Iariam felt a prickle of annoyance. She turned away. Damn it, you're such a buzzkill. So, what's my excuse? She wondered. After a moment of thought, she decided to ask, is your life fun? JT, it's not. Iriam squatted down in front of him. Then what's the point of living? That sounds so boring. If I were as strong as you, I wouldn't live such a dull life. Or maybe you're just bored with life because you're too powerful, huh? Ha ha. JT said pensively, life goes on. We can't just abandon it. Ariam broke the serious mood. You sound like such a little kid. Not wanting to argue, JT said, that's enough chatting. Get back to cleaning. The scene changes to that evening at JT's house. Everyone is together in a warm, family-like setting. Yuri fiddles with a Rubik's Cube in her hands. So you're supposed to twist it like this to get all the sides to match. While she was fiddling with it, trying to solve it, Gordon kept pacing back and forth behind her cleaning. Annoyed, Yuri threw the cube right at him. Hey, you bastard! Are you trying to annoy me on purpose? Gordon got hit. In a cowardly stance, he stammered, sorry. After letting out her anger, Ariam slumped onto the couch. Gordon sadly walked away to clean another area. Ubom noticed that Eularium was in a bad mood. She asked, why do you seem so irritated today? Is it because those reporters were bothering you this morning? Eularium said dejectedly, that's part of it, but mostly I'm just bored. I haven't gotten into any fights lately. Urium called out, hey, Bomb! Ubom was stunned, her face turning pale. Did you just call me sis? She rushed to Ethereum's side. Ethereum, what's wrong with you? Do you need to go to the hospital? Ethereum frowned. Oh, for crying out loud. What, you'd rather I go back to being rude to you? She pushed herself up. Anyway, that's not important. She asked, what do you live for? It was the first time they had seen Ilium act this way. Both Ubom and Gion stared wide-eyed. Ubom whispered into little Gion's ear, Gion, I think our Ilium has finally hit puberty. Gion nodded in agreement. Urium blushed and yelled, I heard that, you idiots, and you little blue girl. What are you nodding about? Urium recounted, today I asked that human what he lives for. You know what he said. Urium mimicked JT's expression from that moment. Life just goes on, you can't give up on it. Ubom and Gion were impressed. Whoa, your impression of him was spot on. Irium continued, but he said he doesn't feel any joy. People are supposed to live to find happiness in this world. If you can't feel happiness, then what's the point of living? Take that golden monkey, for example. He's perfectly happy as long as he has good food to eat. Or that little kid over there. She's happy just playing with that worn-out teddy bear. Yubom also became pensive. He's never said anything to us, but there must be something he enjoys, right? Suddenly, Ilium replied, "In my opinion, you're just like him." Yubom wondered, "I'm like him." "Yeah," Ilium agreed. "You're both just as hard to understand, and you're both so damn boring, ha-ha." Yubom fell silent, thinking seriously. Is that so?" Ilium continued, "So, is there anything that makes you happy to be alive?" Yubom remembered something, her eyes lighting up. There is one thing," Ilium asked curiously. "What is it?" Yubom's answer stunned Ilium. "You know, it's him." Ilium was incredulous. "What?" "You can tell just by looking at that guy that he's a cold-blooded psychopath." Thinking of JT, Yubom replied softly, "Yeah, I thought so too." A memory of the two of them sitting together surfaced in Yubom's mind. She recalled JT's face at that moment, and an embarrassed smile unconsciously appeared on her lips. "But he actually has a cute side to him, you know." Ilium suddenly lunged forward, her face filled with contempt. What's with that disgusting smile?" Startled by Ilium's actions, Yubom yelped, "Oh my God!" Ilium pinned her to the floor, questioning her relentlessly. "Don't tell me you two have been doing something weird behind my back." As Ilium tickled her, Yubom couldn't hold back her laughter. "Stop tickling me, that's hilarious." Just then, Gayan ran down from upstairs. "Hey, you guys!" the little girl exclaimed happily. "This is awesome! The online communities are all talking about you, Ilium." Gayan's voice was full of excitement. "There's even a fan cafe." Ilium whipped her head around and asked, "What's a fan cafe?" A jolt went through Gayan's head as if she'd just realized something. She turned away, blushing with embarrassment. It's nothing. Please continue what you were doing." Ilium shouted angrily after her. "Hey, you little brat! What do you think you're doing?" Another peaceful morning arrived at JT's house. In his room, he was putting on a shirt and adjusting his watch. The door suddenly opened, and Yubom slowly walked in. "Sir." She looked up, about to say something. "I wanted to ask you for a favor." JT's shirt was only half buttoned, revealing his toned abs. Yubom, flustered, slammed the door shut. "I'm so sorry, I should have knocked first." JT calmly reassured her. "What is it? Come in. I'm dressed now." Yubom entered again, looking even more shy than before. "Sir," Yubom began. "Could you go with me today?" JT was taken aback. "Go with you? Why so suddenly?" She pouted. "You've only ever gone out with Ilium and Gion. You've never once gone with me." He replied, "Fine, I suppose." Yubom thought to herself, "I like that forceful side of him. As for Gayan, she's easy to bribe. Wanna go get some fried chicken with me?" "Ooh, fried chicken." Thinking about it, JT let out a helpless sigh. "Fine." Gayan spoke while eating. "Hey, you're not going to school. Where are you going?" Ilium said irritably. "Swallow your food before you talk." Yubom smiled. "I'm going on a date with him." Gayan was startled. A date?" Ilium looked away. "She just means she's going with her guardian, that's all." Gayan processed the information she just heard while chewing on her bread. "Hey, how come he's never gone out with Bomb before? Don't tell me you've been playing favorites with just me and Ilium." He explained, "That's not it." "It's not like that." The little girl smiled. "Even though favoritism is bad, I get it. My mom used to date one guy, but she was still doting on 2 or 3 others." Ilium was shocked. "Whoa, your mom is something else." Gayan laughed innocently. "Right." Yubom sighed and turned away. So I'm like the 97 who were abandoned." JT asked suspiciously, "What do you mean by that?" Gayan said sadly, "After you finally kidnapped me, you don't even care about me anymore. It's like I'm a fish that's already been caught. So you don't even bother to look my way." Ilium is also blaming you for abandoning her. "Poor Bomb. You're so mean." Ilium also looked at him. "I understand why you only go out with us, but you don't have to worry. Just go with Bomb. You can't watch over us all the time." He thought for a moment. "All right." Hearing that Gayan gave a mischievous wink, her plan having succeeded. Time passed quickly and they arrived at the building. Sunlight shone down on the roof. Inside, 15 students and their parents were seated properly. People looked at Yubom and whispered, "Oh, isn't she the sister of that famous girl, Ilium? I think her name is Yubom. she's so pretty. I heard she got a perfect score on the entrance interview. Really? What family is she from? I heard she's from the Yu clan. I'm not too sure. The Yu clan sounds so rustic. At that moment, Suji clapped her hands. That's all for today's communication theory lecture. For the remainder of the class, we will practice social dancing. A young man in the front spoke up. This is so embarrassing. Dancing. She asked doubtfully, oh, why would you be embarrassed? When you become superhumans representing your families, there will be times when you must dance at elegant parties. Standing there like a block of wood then will be the truly embarrassing thing. Now please find a partner and pair up. A guy and a girl approach someone. Hey, how about it? Other couples are blushing and holding hands. If no one else wants to, then dance with me. She smiles. If you see someone you'd like to partner with, don't be shy, just go ahead and ask. Ho ho! Just then, a pink-haired girl's attention is caught by something. That Yubom girl still doesn't have a partner. I thought guys would be lining up to ask her to be their partner. The young man explains, yeah, she's just kind of hard to approach. It's like you get the feeling you'd lose an arm if you touched her. Just then, a worried Suji comes over. Oh, Yubom still doesn't have a partner. Yubom forces a smile, hiding her true feelings. Yes, I guess I'm not very popular. The instructor suggests, but you're so pretty, Yubom. How about the professor? At that moment, she cuts the instructor off. Professor. May I ask my guardian to be my dance partner? JT, who was standing far away, is surprised to hear this. Suji nods. Yes, of course you can. She quickly runs off. Thank you. The instructor exclaims, she's so fast. She quickly approaches the place where he is sitting. Yubom holds out her hand. Sir, come on, get up here. He averts his gaze. I don't know how to dance. She puts on a hurt expression. So you're just going to leave me all alone? I'll be so lonely. Hearing this, he sighs helplessly. At that moment, Suji starts giving instructions. Follow the rhythm now. Slowly take your partner's hand. 3, 2, 1, 2-step. Now JT and Yubom face each other awkwardly. She suddenly notices something that surprises her. His hand as it moves up and down. She teases him. Sir, are you afraid to touch me? He turns his head away. No. Yubom proactively takes both of JT's hands. Don't worry. It's not like touching each other means we'll fall in love. He remains cold. I know. Her voice becomes serious. And don't just go through the motions. It'll affect my grade. He replies, I know. The two of them get into position. She says, let's begin. The two of them dance together rhythmically to the music. Yubom thinks to herself with a smirk, why are his hands so sweaty? Her fair hand holds his drenched one. JT, are you nervous? Other places are soaked too. There's so much sweat on his chest that his shirt is see-through. She is reminded of the image of JT's hot body. Yubom's face immediately flushes bright red. In that moment of distraction, she trips and starts to fall backward. But JT quickly catches her before she hits the ground. The scene is now romantic. He is frozen, not knowing what to say, while Yubom is now blushing beet red. Her heart starts beating faster and faster. Then her vision goes white and her nose starts to bleed. He's startled. You're having a nosebleed. A while later, after class ended at a roadside shop, Yubom is drinking lemonade with a piece of tissue stuffed in her right nostril. JT now asks, do you need to go to the hospital? She replies, no, I don't need to go to the hospital. I'm fine now. Thinking back on it, he's suspicious. It's weird. You didn't hit anything, so why did your nose bleed? She shyly turns her head away. Who knows? Just then, she changes the subject. You know you're a better dancer than I thought. Where did you learn? Hearing Yubom's question, JT sinks into thought. A deep memory from within his soul surfaces. His eyes grow colder. Somewhere, a girl is teaching him to dance. Now, 1, 2. Slowly. Her face breaks into a happy smile. Not bad. At this rate, you'll be a pro in no time, Captain. JT's silhouette casts a sad shadow on the ground. Then he answers, I've never learned. Hearing this, she falls silent, saying nothing more. Yubom slowly takes the cotton from her nose. She stands up and asks, are you busy after class, sir? JT replies, no. She ties up her hair. Then let's go do something fun together. The full moon shines through the white clouds. In Moscow, Russia, at the research facility of the underground organization, invisible warning lights flash as alarms blare loudly. A figure runs swiftly. Behind her are the bodies of guards. She grits her teeth. Damn it, damn it, damn it. Where the hell did that monster come from? There aren't enough people here to stop it. I have to get out of here and protect headquarters. Just then, the Guardian appears behind her. Where are you off to in such a hurry? She looks at him stunned. What do you want? He replies coldly. My master is looking for something. The superclass commander Sima. Where is he? She yells in fury. You think I'd ever tell you? Kill me. The Guardian grabbed her neck with a shadow. After killing so many fiends, I've realized something. When you're on the verge of death, your instincts awaken. But when the pain becomes too much, you just struggle like a puppet with its strings cut. Do you want to dance a little under the moonlight too? Verily collapsed in a pool of blood. The Guardian, having defeated her, sent a signal to report to GT. My lord. An image of a girl with one leg tied up appeared. The X-type specimen has been transported to the unseen headquarters. As a test subject, this X-type is a female model, completely different from previous versions. He listened to the information, then JT asked, the head researcher you just dealt with, was her name Vera? Is that correct? He replied, yes, my lord. JT gave the order, disguise yourself as him, infiltrate the unseen, and find out XD's true identity. The Guardian replied, as you command. After cutting the signal, JT thought about the sight of many ferocious fiends worried about their ultimate commander, Prototype X, a creature possessing special abilities. It connects to the minds of countless fiends. The longer it exists, the more fiend consciousness it absorbs, becoming immeasurably dangerous. He remembered the fiends that had died by his own hand. That's why I always prioritize destroying Prototype X each cycle. But this time, the information is different from before, which is hindering the hunt. GT took out the authority. It displayed a notification, Authority Real-Time, reading malice from the horizon. Fate is scanning for an existence outside the timeline. As he watched the notification continue to scan, he thought, X changing its form must be due to the malice the Guardian mentioned. JT clenched the authority tightly. I just need to kill all these bastards ruining this life, and it'll be over. Just then, Yubom called out, Sir, over here for a second. He walked over and asked, What is it? She kept saying, Hurry, hurry. GT was stunned as Yubom pulled back the curtain slightly, showing him the lingerie she was trying on. She asked shyly, Can you see? Does it suit me? He whipped his head away. What the hell do you think you're doing? Yubom laughed and replied, Summer's just around the corner. There's no harm in buying one, right? She then invited, It's hard to see from out there. Why don't you come inside for a better look? He feigned disinterest and said, You said we were going out to have fun, and now you drag me into this nonsense. Yubom said shyly, What, I'm having fun? Then, as if realizing something, she asked, You're not thinking something weird, are you? Adults are so hard to understand. JT replied, Don't push your luck. Afterwards, they went for a walk, but Yubom didn't drop the subject. Come on, sir, just admit it. You wanted to look, didn't you? He denied it, no. She continued to tease. Oh, come on, there's no way you didn't want to look. Yubom smiled brightly and said, I guess I should have bought it, huh? JT said, If you're done messing around, let's go home. She said, Hey, actually, I came here to buy gifts for the kids. Gifts, he repeated. Yubom thought about Gion and her teddy bear, then said, Yeah. Did you know Gion's teddy bear is completely torn to shreds? So I was planning on buying her a new one, and while I'm at it, I might as well get gifts for the others. JT asked what the other kids wanted. She immediately explained, Gion only likes clothes. She doesn't care about anything else, so she won't feel self-conscious when she's out with her friends. Maybe we should get her a nice wallet. He then asked, What about Urium? Yubom thought about what Urium wanted and gave a strained laugh. Urium. Well, yesterday she said there was something she wanted to buy. She recalled the girl's tone. I saw this in a movie, buy it for me. Yubom thought the item was a little weird. Then they split up. She said, Okay, I'll go look for gifts for Gion and Urium. Sir, could you please pick out a gift for Gion for me? JT immediately agreed. All right. Yubom watched him walk away and silently wondered, I hope he's okay. At the Toy and Toy teddy bear shop, the owner stood at the counter, thinking to herself as she watched JT. Late 20s, early 30s. With a build like that, is he a model or a soldier? And he's handsome. He's all alone, completely absorbed in picking out a teddy bear, looking so lost among all these children's toys. The shop owner thought smugly, he's the perfect customer to overcharge. I've found myself a cash cow. She cheerfully went over to ask, "Oh, are you buying a gift for your little one? How old is your child?" JT replied, "Around 4. The owner flattered him. "Oh, that's the absolute cutest age. Is the little girl your daughter?" He replied, "She's not my daughter, but she is a little girl." She came over, patted JT on the shoulder admiringly, and said, "Ah, so she's your niece then? It's so rare to see an uncle picking out a gift for his niece all by himself like this. I'm sure your little one will love it." Then she continued, "But you're missing a little something." The owner put a toy stethoscope to his chest, then said, "For a 4-year-old, it's better to buy a role-playing toy like this than a doll. This kind lets you play along with her. It's great for family bonding, you know." But inwardly she was thinking, wow, his body is so firm. She's a pretty enthusiastic salesperson. "If you buy this doctor playset, I'll give you a 10% discount on the other sets." Seeing him pick up a toy, the shopkeeper asked, "Would you like to take a look, sir?" Jate imagined Jian playing with a toy syringe and said, "Yes, please." Hearing that the shopkeeper was thrilled, feeling like she'd hit the jackpot. In the end, Jate bought a whole pile of gifts as she kept on saying, "It may look like a lot, but it's all very necessary for the child's psychological development. You won't regret it." He took out his card. The shopkeeper asked, "Paying by card, sir?" JT just grunted in agreement. Looking at the card, she was stunned, thinking about its value. That's a VIP black card reserved only for high society families. No wonder he bought everything I suggested. The shopkeeper admired his handsome face, silently scheming. The more I look at this guy, the more attractive he gets. He's probably not married. Maybe I should take this chance to hit on him, she asked shyly. Sir, do you have a girlfriend?" Suddenly, U-Bomb appeared, wrapping her arm around JT's and calling out, "Sir!" She asked, "Are you planning to buy all of this?" The shopkeeper guessed, could she be his girlfriend? But looking at U-Bomb's outfit, she realized, wait, that's a student uniform. The two of them started chatting freely. "So what were you planning to buy for our Jian?" He replied, "A teddy bear." She said, "But why did you pick all this random stuff?" The shopkeeper chimed in, "Oh, so you're buying for your little sister." U-Bomb shot her a glare. The shopkeeper said, "The little one might not be used to it at first, but she..." U-Bomb repeated, "She won't like it." The shopkeeper said reluctantly, "Ah, ha, ha. Is that so?" She picked up a teddy bear and evaluated it. "This one might be okay." U-Bomb looked at the bear and continued, "It's like her old one, so the kid won't feel weird." JT added, "I was planning on buying it from the start anyway." She said, "This probably gets a VIP discount, right?" At the station, Un and Jian's eyes were wide with excitement. "Whoa, look at all the presents!" They asked politely, "Are these presents really for us?" Ga-eun held up the new wallet, overjoyed. "I was just about to buy a new wallet. I love you two so much." The little girl looked at the gifts, touched by everyone's thoughtfulness. "Gian got a teddy bear, so what did you get, Eliam?" She replied, "Me." With the handcuffs clutched in her mouth, the little girl said, "Toys." She waved, "Hey, Golden Monkey, come here. I have a fun game." Ga-eun quickly refused, "I don't want to play." She was so scared she was about to cry. Meanwhile, the little girl was lifted into his arms, expressing her feelings through touch. U-Bomb spoke up. "This is for you, sir." JT opened the gift box. "This is..." She said, "I saw you wearing the same old tie every day, so I bought you a new one." U-Bomb added, "When I start making my own money, I'll buy you a suit, okay?" He looked at the gift. "Thank you." JT asked, "Why didn't you buy anything for yourself?" U-Bomb replied, "Oh, I did buy one thing." He was curious. "What did you buy?" She thought shyly of the lingerie set and said, "I'll show you later." A few weeks later, Gordon tiptoed in. He asked formally, "You called for me, sir?" JT instructed, "I'll be away for 3 days. Make sure you take good care of Jian." Gordon said, "Are you going far, sir?" He glanced at the bed and answered, "Yes." Ethereum was sleeping, drooling. JT continued, "Ethereum will be coming with me too." The next day, everyone was gathered in the lobby. One of the young men spoke up. It's finally starting. The simulated Great Demon War. As he spoke, a purple circle gradually expanded. The simulated Great Demon War was known to be a survival battle that lasted for 2 days and 3 nights. In the virtual space, cadets would move in teams of 3 under the command of a representative guardian called a tactical operator. They originally held the position of navigators. In the superhuman teams that specialized in hunting monsters, the guardians would play this role. Right now, JT was also present here. Beside him, Ilium sat with her hand on her chin, judging this year's members. Geez, look at those tense little brats. How could a bunch of nobodies like them have any real combat experience? JT had to remind her, hey, Ilium, this isn't the time to be showing off. Hearing that, she grumbled in dissatisfaction. Yeah. He continued, this isn't a solo fight. You have to cooperate in a team of 3. Ilium sighed. I know, but I have to choose teammates I actually like. Suddenly, she noticed a group next to them. A young man and woman approached. The man scratched his head and asked, if you don't have a team yet, would you want to join us? Ilium flared up, shouting, what the hell? Get lost, you weaklings! But JT calmly asked, what are your names? The young man replied, I'm Hisaki Sojiro. The woman also spoke up, Kim Jin-ah. They both bowed their heads deeply and politely. Sojiro sincerely promised, we'll do our best not to get in your way. Ilium, however, maintained her cranky attitude. Didn't you hear me? I said get lost. In her mind, she thought, they look so damn weak. And yet JT simply agreed, all right, which made Ilium snap, who said they could join the team? So JT told her, if you don't like it, go find your own teammates. And just like that, the girl lowered her voice. Well, that's too much trouble. Seeing this exchange, Sojiro and Kim Jin-ah were both stunned, speechless. In the end, Ilium had to swallow her pride. Listen up, you weaklings. If you get in my way while I'm fighting, you've been warned. Sojiro cheerfully said, thank you. But suddenly, a hand came flying towards him. The person struck the young man hard on the head, making Sojiro clutch it in pain. It was Johnny. He glared and warned, hey, you nobody. Didn't I tell you before you keep flirting around in front of me? You want to die? Sojiro was in so much pain that tears welled up in his eyes. The young man quickly said, sorry. Then Johnny turned to tease Kim Jin-ah. Hey, your boyfriend apologized. You got nothing to say. He put his hand directly on her head, challenging her. Nothing to say. Just then his friends laughed and said, hey, Johnny, there are guardians from other groups here. Tone it down. He sneered. So what? The adults don't care what happens to a bunch of orphans. And with that, Johnny pushed his luck, grabbing Kim Jin-ah's hair and criticizing her. Hey, you should cut your bangs. They make you look so gloomy. She wanted to struggle out of his grasp, but couldn't. She could only plead helplessly, don't. Please don't do that. Johnny laughed smugly. Oh, look at the little orphan talking back. But he had no idea that Ilium had already walked up right beside him. She gently asked, what's an orphan? Hearing this, he was startled, thinking to himself, this chick is Ilium, that psycho from the Azure Dragon Academy Yarium. He impatiently shoved his hands in his pockets and said, I'll ask you again. What's an orphan? Johnny's eyelid twitched. He remembered his family elders telling him to stay away from her kind. So he let go of Kim Jin's hair and turned to explain. Haha, you don't know what an orphan is. It's a student with no guardian. To put it bluntly, they're worthless scum with no backing. As he spoke, he laughed and pointed at Kim Jin and Sojiro. Yarium thought to herself, so, that's what it is. What a pain dealing with this environmental pollution. Hearing her say that, Johnny put his arm around her shoulder, trying to act friendly and play along. Don't tell me you're on the same team as those guys. Someone as strong as you teaming up with these weaklings. Why don't you join our team? If you agree, I can make some room. His 2 lackeys were stunned. One of them questioned, Johnny, what are you talking about? But Johnny couldn't be bothered to care. He was only calculating, even if she's a total psycho, getting on her good side would be a huge advantage for me. Her fighting style seems compatible with mine. I just need to suck up to her a little. And then a punch landed right on his face. Of course, Johnny took the full force of it in front of his 2 dumbfounded lackeys and the pair, Kim Jin and Sojiro. Jin, he could only cover his mouth as he listened to Yarium curse, Hey, you basket case, are you trying to die? Who gave you permission to put your hand on my shoulder? I cementendi. You think we're close or something? How dare you put yourself on my level, you maggot? At that moment, Johnny stood frozen with a distorted face, but inside he was screaming, "This psycho! Fine. Just you wait." And then, surprisingly, he turned and walked away, ignoring Ilium, who was still cursing him out. "Next time I see your face, you're dead." Kim Jin and Sojiro stared at Ilium in shock, while JT, who was all too used to this, could only let out a long sigh. And so the instructor then stepped out to make an announcement. "All students listen up." It was the combat professor Quit. He looked lazy as he said, "I will now explain the rules. You will be divided into 50 teams starting from separate spawn points. Activity points, takedowns, deaths, damage. Everything will be scored and ranked in real time. If you die, you must wait 3 hours to respawn at a different point. Remember this. The name of this virtual map is Ant Nest, and just as the name suggests, the location is a giant cave." The teacher ended his presentation with a simple, "Good luck to you all." Dismissed. One by one, everyone stepped into the virtual matrix. JT's group entered as well. Kim Jin laughed heartily. "Whoa, this is pretty impressive. Awesome. Then let's kick things off with a massacre." But Kim Jin quickly stopped her, asking, "Wait, how can we fight if we don't know where the other teams are?" But Yeriam just looked confused and said, We just run around until we find them." Kim Jin explained, "Sorry, but we're not as fast or as tough as you. If you charge off alone, we could get ambushed from behind." Yeriam propped her hands on her hips, scoffing. "Are you proud of being weak or something?" Kim Jin suggested we should come up with a strategy before we act. Hearing this, Ilium scoffed. "Strategy? What strategy? I'll do. The fighting, you guys just cover me from behind." Kim Jin, now serious, criticized her. "This is a team battle, not a solo mission. Don't act so recklessly." Yeriam glared back and shouted, "I took pity on you and let you on my team. And now you're trying to push your luck." Sojiro, caught in the middle, nervously tried to calm them down. "Hey, everyone calm down." It was then that JT finally spoke up. "Do you guys have any specific targets in mind?" Caught off guard by the sudden question, Kim Jin was a bit stunned. JT, maintaining his cold expression, continued. "How many teams do you want to take down?" Kim Jin replied, "It's not that easy. Every team has a navigator they're hard to outsmart." Iorium couldn't help but chime in. "So pessimistic. Teams this and how many teams that?" Then the mischievous girl broke into a triumphant grin. "We see a team, we destroy that team. Simple." Elsewhere, Johnny was grimacing from the loving gift Ilium had given him. He walked along, muttering, "That damn brat. My face still hurts." His group's navigator asked, "Why do you keep provoking Yeriam just to get your ass kicked? The higher-ups already told us not to mess with her." He replied sullenly, "I was just trying to be friendly." Who knew she was actually insane? His lackey then spoke up, "But, Johnny, earlier, were you serious about kicking one of us out to bring Yeriam in?" Hearing that, he was taken aback. "Of course not. I was just testing her reaction." To change the subject, he stomped his foot furiously and yelled, "Yariam, just you wait. If I see you in here, I'll tear you to pieces." But who would have thought? "Speak of the devil," a voice that sent shivers down Johnny's spine rang out. "Tear me to pieces, you say?" The big boss herself charged forward, the sword in her hand, gleaming strangely bright. Her gaze, still full of warmth, made Johnny freeze for 5 seconds, speechless, his expression frozen. But Yeriam looked at him and challenged, "Go on, try me." Before he could even move, she landed a kick right on the poor forward's jaw, for the second time, dropping Johnny's health points from 100 down to 17. Then she spun around gracefully. To everyone's amazement, Johnny was sent flying into a wall, creating a considerable shockwave. The navigator for Johnny's team thought in shock, "Damn it. Since when were we being followed?" He realized, shouting, "It's an ambush! Prepare for battle!" And so 2 of the underlings readied their machine guns and took an attack stance. By then, Ariam had already landed on the ground. She said softly, "A battle, you're gravely mistaken." And then she slowly raised her head, a savage grin on her face, and continued, "This is just a one-sided hunt. Mine. You dogs." Johnny's teammate opened fire on Ariam, but unfortunately, she was so fast she could dodge the bullets. The guy immediately panicked and screamed, "Stay away from me." But in the blink of an eye, Ilium was right in front of him. Without a shred of hesitation, she swung her sword down in a single strike, depleting all his health. Just as she finished, Ilium noticed something. Someone was charging at her. She didn't hesitate or dodge, but simply raised her sword to block. This action startled her attacker, but in his mind he was cursing this stupid bitch. She didn't dodge, but met his counterattack head-on. His position was higher, so he thought victory was certain. The weight of his weapon was also far superior, so he believed that no matter how strong Ilium was, he had no reason to be at a disadvantage. But life isn't like a dream. The guy's eyes suddenly widened in shock because Ilium was still standing there unfazed. She smirked contemptuously. "You think you can beat me in a contest of strength?" As soon as she finished speaking, she swung her sword down, reducing all his health to 0. After finishing them off, Ilium was very unhappy. She grumbled in dissatisfaction. "What the hell was that? These guys weren't even enough for a warm-up. Is that it?" Just then, Hisaki shouted a reminder, "Ilium, there's still one left over there." Hearing this, Ilium frowned doubtfully. "Another one?" She then glanced over and saw Johnny struggling to get up from the ground. That one kick hadn't finished him off. He still had 17 HP left. When he saw Ilium notice him, he hurriedly begged, "Could you please not hit me in the face again?" Unfortunately, Ilium had never been one to listen to anyone. She kicked him directly in the face, dropping his HP to a nice round 0. Johnny's guardian saw this and cried out, "It's over!" Hisaki rushed over, praising her. "That was amazing. You took them all down by yourself." Kim Jin also marveled to herself. "I never knew Ilium was this strong. No wonder she's so famous." But what surprised her even more was Ilium's guardian JT. Even with his mana sense restricted, he still managed to find another team so quickly. During this training session, combat commanders aren't allowed to use mana. And yet JT had perfectly calculated the timing for Ilium's ambush and gave the attack order without missing a single beat. Such swift tracking ability and perfect command. Kim Jin was certain he must have been the #1 combat commander in the Alliance. Just then, an announcement rang out. "All members of Team 37 have been eliminated. They will be revived at a different location in 3 hours." Johnny's guardian quickly led the 3 away. JT watched them calmly, then gave a slight nod to the guardian. At that moment, a surprise shout came from behind him. "Look at this!" It startled JT. He looked back to see it was Hisaki, who had just checked the rankings and was yelling excitedly. "We only took down 1 team and we're already in 6th place. Kim Jin nodded slightly in agreement. The demonic being combat simulation just started, so there are probably still many teams that haven't finished their engagements. Under the circumstances, Ilium completely overwhelmed an entire team without taking any damage herself. So it's only natural we'd make it into the top ranks." Hearing that, Hisaki wanted to rush over and hug Ilium. "You're really the best, Ilium." But before he could even touch her, she grabbed his face. Ilium scolded him in annoyance. "You beanpole, what's so great about just standing back and watching?" Grinning like an idiot, she demanded, "What were you doing when I charged in by myself? Aren't you the marksman? While I was fighting, you should have been finding a position and getting ready to provide sniper support. Instead, you just stood there watching like a bunch of idiots." Hisaki and the other were scolded at length by Ilium, but it was clear she was right. They could only bow their heads and apologize. Seeing this, Ilium snorted contemptuously. "And don't get happy just because we're in 6th place. We have to take 1st place, got it?" She even pounded her chest, her eyes filled with determination. Hisaki and the other had no choice but to nod in agreement. But Ilium wasn't done. While still angry, she started adjusting Hisaki's clothes and continued to scold him. "Hey, Beanpole, straighten up your clothes. You're not a kid." Standing to the side, JT couldn't help but sigh in resignation at the scene. But while they were fighting, Yon had to stay home with his guardian, utterly bored. Time passed, and it had now been 2 days since the start of the demonic being combat simulation in the virtual dungeon's control room. JT walked over with a cup of coffee, mumbling to himself, "Today's the last day of the simulation. Huh, hey T, which team is in 1st place?" The TA immediately replied, "Team 1 is still in the lead, but Team 50 is right on their tail." Hearing that, JT frowned skeptically. "Let's see. Team 1 is that group of 52 elites, but who's Team 50 again?" The TA quickly chimed in, "That's the team with the student Ilium, sir." JT was taken aback. "Ilium? You mean that psycho?" The TA whispered, "Yes, that's her." Ilium and 2 students with no guardians. On Ilium's team, she's the only frontline attacker while Hizaki and Kim Jin are both marksmen. JT observed, making a comment. So it's basically a one-woman team with Ilium carrying them all. Is she really strong enough to climb all the way to second place? The TA quickly spoke up. I think it's thanks to their guardian acting as the tactical commander pulling them up the ranks, sir. Sir, take a look at this. With that, he opened up the map. When JT saw it, he cried out in astonishment. Good Lord, what is this? On the map was a movement route so perfect it was impossible not to be amazed. The TA glanced at him. Could he have been a tactical commander for the Alliance? JT didn't think so. He shook his head and retorted, Hey, have you forgotten that I used to be a tactical commander? There's no one in this field I don't know, and I've never heard of him. With that, he fell into deep thought. A person of interest from the Blue Dragon Academy, Ilium. Yubom, the one praised by the magic professors as a rare genius. They all belong to the family founded by that GT fellow. The important thing is the information on this man is just too clean. It's like it's been wiped away with an eraser. It made JT incredibly suspicious. While he was lost in thought, the TA spoke up hesitantly. Professor, there's something that's been bothering me. JT frowned slightly. What is it? The TA began slowly. It looks like Team 1 is using marking. Their route has never crossed with Team 3's or 4's. It's as if they're exchanging signals. Hearing this, JT narrowed his eyes at him and asked coolly, Hey TA, are you a sports referee? The TA was bewildered. JT snorted coldly and explained, Our subject is live combat. In a situation with no external means of communication, conveying intent to one another isn't cheating. It's a tactic. If anything, we should be praising them for it. Upon hearing this, the TA realized his mistake and quickly replied, I hadn't thought of it that way, sir. JT shrugged indifferently and continued, However, if they meet up and don't fight, then that's definitely cheating. Inside the dungeon, Ilium was furious. She slammed her fist into the wall, cracking it, and roared in frustration. We haven't died once since we started, and we've been racking up points non-stop, right? Hizaki nodded timidly. Yeah, that's right. But that didn't please Ilium. She screamed, Then why are we still in second place? Terrified, Hisaki's voice trembled as he replied, But, second place is still really good. Ilium flew into a rage, punching and kicking him, his health bar dropping steadily as she screamed, I told you! If it's not first place, I won't accept it. Seeing this, Kim Jin hesitated before speaking up. I'm sorry, but can't you just be happy with second place? Her words made Ilium stop and turn to look at her. Kim Jin felt a flash of fear but continued, You might be fine, but we're almost out of stamina. Besides, there's not much time left. If we push too hard, we could end up losing points instead. It'd be safer to just hold our position now. But just as she finished, Ilium was suddenly right in her face, making Kim Jin jump back in alarm. What? But Ilium's voice was suddenly gentle. Yeah, I get it. Aside from the beginning, you two have been trying pretty hard. You've done a decent job keeping up with me. I guess you could call that a sufficient effort. Hearing this, Kim Jin was touched. Ilium. But before she could finish, Ilium's anger flared up again. But that's precisely why you two will never amount to anything. She squeezed Kim Jin's shoulder as she spoke, making her cry out in pain. But Ilium didn't care and kept yelling. Do you know why the other kids look down on you too? And call you idiots? Is it because you don't have guardians? Jite stood nearby, observing the surroundings, not paying them any mind. With no one to stop her, Ilium continued her tirade. No, it's because you give up the second you get a little tired. That damn loser mentality is hardwired into your brains. She reminded them that on the very first day, they were the ones who said they wouldn't hold her back. So get up, stop living like losers. Hearing this, Hisaki looked up at her. Kim Jin bit her lip hard, taking Ilium's words to heart. And so, right after both of them shouted in unison, We can do it! We're going to take first place. Seeing them fired up, Ilium smiled in satisfaction. Just then, Jite spoke up calmly. If you're done with your speech, come over here for a minute. Ilium and the other two quickly went over and saw strange markings on the wall in front of them. Ilium scoffed and said, Humph, no wonder I thought something was strange. So that bunch uses this symbol to coordinate with each other. Hizaki nodded in agreement. I saw similar signs in other places too. Now that I think about it, I feel like I've heard about this somewhere before. An upperclassman once formed an alliance to avoid fighting each other. He said these signs might have been left by them, but it was just a suspicion. Hearing this, GT said hesitantly, "But there's no solid proof. Maybe we should report this to the administration. It's not too late." But Urium fell silent, thinking for a long moment. Then she let out a smirk. "No need." Hearing this, Kim Jin looked at her bewildered. Urium's lips curled into a wicked smile as she said, "I have a better idea. This way, those bastards will get a serious taste of their own medicine." Elsewhere, Team 1 was constantly checking the rankings on the information board. Team 1's current rank, number 1. A fat blonde guy on the team looked at the time on the screen, which announced the time remaining until the end. 0 hours, 40 minutes, and 35 seconds left. He announced to the team, "It's almost over. 40 minutes until the simulation ends." The red-haired girl walking in front suddenly turned back and asked him, "Is Team 50 still in second place?" The blonde guy quickly confirmed, "That's right. But don't worry, as long as we clear this zone, first place is definitely ours." Then he added with interest, "By the way, the captain of the second place team is that Ilium chick." "Right, I heard she's a good fighter, but I never expected her to be this incredible. A first-year student climbing all the way to second place. If we don't have a perfect plan, she could be dangerous for us. You know." As soon as he said that, the person walking in front froze slightly. The red-haired girl immediately realized the situation and quickly turned to yell at the blonde guy. "No matter how good she is, she's no match for our captain. Watch your mouth, you pig. He's from the prestigious Ion family of swordsmen." The captain of Team 1 from the renowned Ion family of swordsmen, Eon Mi Eon Ho. The blonde guy, realizing his slip of the tongue, could only laugh and try to make peace. "Mi Eon Ho, my apologies." It was just a slip of the tongue. Eon Mi Eon Ho just reminded him calmly, "Don't let your guard down, the exam isn't over yet." Although he appeared calm on the surface, his heart was filled with determination. "It doesn't matter how strong Eorium is, my goal is to take first place in this exam to gain the family head's recognition." He seethed with anger as he thought of someone else. "Just you wait. I'll prove that I'm superior to that Yang Teha guy." Just then, their guide seemed confused and asked the group, "Hey, you guys, your plan hasn't changed midway, has it?" Yong Mi Yong Ho immediately replied to him, "No, sir." "Is something wrong?" But as soon as he looked ahead, he was startled. All over the walls in front of them were numerous symbols that they had set up. The blonde guy saw them and yelled in confusion. Why are there so many symbols? With this many, how are we supposed to know who's passed through and which way we're supposed to go?" He gritted his teeth in anger. "Who the hell is playing this trick?" The red-haired girl, however, warned the group, "Calm down. Someone's coming." From the tunnel ahead, the sound of a group's footsteps approached. As soon as they saw the other people, Yong Mi Yong Ho exclaimed in shock, "You're Team 3. The members of Team 3 also stared back at Team 1 dumbfounded. The blonde guy was also confused now. "But we're allies." The red-haired girl immediately asked Eon Mi Eon Ho for his opinion. "Captain, what do we do now?" He replied without a moment's hesitation, "What else? We kill them." At the same time, he drew his weapon. The members of Team 3 were also thrown into chaos by the situation. "Hey, they're really going to fight. Should we pretend to lose?" The captain of Team 3, who was more level-headed, immediately rejected his teammate's idea. "You idiot. Do you think Professor JT is a fool?" "I don't know what to do either now." Finally, he cursed and made a decision. "Damn it. It's already come to this. Let's just fight first." As soon as the order was given, both sides charged in and clashed. Meanwhile, on a high cliff nearby, Irium's group was watching the situation below with great interest. "Look at them tearing each other to pieces." Sojiro looked at the scene below in disbelief. I can't believe this plan actually worked." Irium, still excited, asked him, "Want to bet on who wins?" Rewind to a few minutes earlier. Both Sojiro and Kim Jin looked on in surprise as Eorium used those same signs against them. When asked how, Irium pointed to the signs on the cliff wall and explained to the two of them, "That's right. Even if we don't know what the symbols mean, we just need to draw so many of them that even they can't tell which is which. Then their roots will be thrown into chaos. The plan will collapse on its own. My plan is as simple as that. So Jiro and Kim Jin did as she said. The two of them just went around drawing similar symbols everywhere in the meantime. Ariam would split off to hunt people for more points, and if she ran into the number one team, she would beat them to a pulp. Kim Jin hesitantly raised a hand to interrupt. Hey, I have a question. What if we're wandering around and run into another team? Ariam heard the question. She'd already planned for that and pointed towards JT. You're such a coward. I'll lend you this old guy to lead the way. Figure out how to run and hide on your own. He protested a bit indignant. Am I some kind of item? But Ariam remained completely unfazed and asked him, So, is my plan good or what? JT was silent for a moment, but finally had to nod in agreement. It's good. Getting his approval, Ariam said smugly, I know right. This plan is fucking brilliant. He was speechless, thinking to himself, what the hell? Back in the present, Youngmi Youngho had finally taken down the captain of Team 3. The notification board immediately displayed, Team 3 has been eliminated. The red-haired girl clutched her injured shoulder and struggled to say to Youngmi Youngho, Captain, I'm sorry. I'm dead. He just calmly replied to her, It's fine. We took down all of Team 3, so our points have increased. If we just keep this up and survive. Just then a voice rang out, cutting him off. Who said you guys would survive? Youngmi Youngho was startled and on guard. Who's there? Ariam, while jumping down from the cliff in a flashy move, answered, You're asking who I am. In this chaotic era of turmoil, I'm the real villain here. At her appearance, the atmosphere instantly fell silent. Ariam calmly faced Youngmi Youngho while he looked at her suspiciously, wondering to himself, Could it be? She's the one who ruined my plan. But he immediately glanced up at the cliff. They came from above. Sojiro peeked his head out and said to Ariam, we'll provide cover for you. As soon as he saw those two, Youngmi Youngho let out a cold laugh. He quickly ordered the blonde guy, Kay, you can still move, right? There are 2 more from Team 50 up there. Take care of them. The blonde guy protested, Can't we just retreat? If we just stall for time like this, we'll win. Youngmi Youngho's voice immediately dropped as he glared threateningly at the guy. Don't make me say it a second time. Key instantly fell silent but cursed inwardly. Damn it. Thinks he's so great. But in the end, he spoke up in agreement. Got it. I'll be right back. With a single leap, he launched himself up to the cliff, where Sojiro and Kim Jin were hiding. He greeted them as they looked on in horror. Hey there, folks. Right after he menacingly spread his hands and slowly advanced. I'm a little busy, so let's make this quick, okay? The two of them screamed in unison, then turned and fled. Run! Key also shouted, Where do you think you're going? Then he zipped past JT in pursuit. Down below, Ariam heard the screams echoing from above and commented with amusement, Look, a flying pig. But she was startled right after. She quickly drew her sword to block an attack from Youngmi Youngho, who had struck while she was distracted. He growled, reminding her, This is no time to be distracted. Ariam swung her sword, forcefully pushing him back. As soon as he regained his footing, Youngmi Youngho suddenly asked her, Your name is Ariam, right? I never expected you to be able to ruin my plan. That's worthy of some recognition. You're clearly not just some brute who only knows how to use her fists. Ariam replied contemptuously, Colluding with each other is what you call a strategy, you idiot. Youngmi Youngho arrogantly retorted, It ends here. No matter how much you struggle, first place will still belong to the Yong clan. Ariam confidently swung her sword. Not a chance. She looked up toward JT, who was calmly watching the fight from above, and declared with confidence, Because first place belongs to our Ayu clan. Elsewhere, Sojiro and Kim Jin were desperately running away with Key chasing after them. He angrily yelled at the two of them. Be good and stop right there, you first-year brats. Kim Jin, running ahead, tried to encourage Sojiro, who was behind her. Just hold on a little longer, Sojiro. That pig just fought a battle. So he must be pretty injured. When he runs out of stamina, we'll counterattack. But Sojiro was already out of breath. His eyes rolled back and his mouth agape. He stammered back at her. What did you say? I can't hear you anymore. Sojiro's state made Kim Jin scream in fright. You scared me. You look like you've lost 15 years of your life. Sojiro whispered back to her, Kim Jin, you go on. I can't run anymore. Kim Jin tried to both encourage and threaten him. Don't give up. Do you want to die at Arium's hands? Sojiro suddenly growled back at Kim Jin. No, I'm not giving up. I'm leaving the rest to you and Arium. As he spoke, he turned around and shot an arrow straight at Quidot Model. This startled him. Meanwhile, Sojiro remembered his past of being bullied, letting out all his pent-up frustration. I'm sick of this life of being looked down on just because I'm weak and don't have a guardian. Damn it. He resolutely drew his bow. I won't run anymore. But the arrow fell weakly halfway, leaving all three of them stunned. In the end, Sojiro was the first to speak. He cried out in a panic. Maybe because I was busy breaking the sign earlier. My arms have no strength left. Wave reacted instantly, leaping forward and punching Sojiro right in the face. You scared the hell out of me, you son of a bitch. That single punch knocked Sojiro out. Kim Jin, worried, drew her weapon and called out to him, Sojiro, you idiot. But immediately Wave grabbed her face. He aggressively slammed Kim Jin's entire body against the wall. Where do you think you're going, huh? After subduing Kim Jin, he asked contemptuously, Hey, I've seen the files on you and that dried fish-looking bastard. You two don't have guardians, do you? You pieces of trash got pulled up to rank 2, and you think you're hot shit, huh? At that moment, Kim Jin suddenly smirked. Only rank 2, you say? Wave was a bit stunned by the situation. He only heard Kim Jin continue in a cold voice. Sorry about this. At the same time, a light flashed in one of her eyes. Kim Jin was using the skill Guardian's Sharpshooter Eye. She declared firmly to him, We're more interested in first place. At the same time, the muzzle of the gun in Kim Jin's hand, glowing with light, was aimed straight at Wave. He cried out in confusion, Wait! But as he instinctively raised his hand to block and dodged, Kim Jin's shot went straight upwards. Wave saw that her attack had missed him. He finally let out a sigh of relief. Shit, you scared me. Then he aggressively mocked Kim Jin. You can't even shoot your mana gun straight, and you're aiming for first place. Know your place. But she just laughed coldly in response. What are you talking about? I used it the right way. Her gaze was directed upwards at the boulder, falling straight for Wave's head. In a flash, he was struck by the large rock. Wave suddenly realized, don't tell me she wasn't aiming for me, but at what was above me. Wave was finally defeated by Kim Jin, but she herself was exhausted, leaning against the wall behind her and mumbling softly, Arium, I really did my best. I swear. The system notification immediately updated Team 1 remaining members 1. The red-haired girl from Team 1 suddenly opened her eyes. The instructor standing beside her asked with concern, Are you awake? She shook her head slightly and quickly sat up. Yes, I was a little dazed. Then she anxiously asked about the situation. My guardian, my team. How is everyone? He quickly replied. The thing is, Wave has been killed. Yongmi Yongho is still in combat. She couldn't believe it. Looking towards the ongoing battle, she thought, what the team leader is losing to that insignificant little brat. At that moment, Yongmi Yongho was slumped at the bottom of a cliff, while Arium stood nonchalantly before him. I thought you were supposed to be a decent fighter. Turns out this is all you've got. What a disappointment. She continued to mock him relentlessly. And don't use the excuse that you're out of energy from fighting another team. I also wrecked a few teams before I ran into you guys. Yongmi Yongho gritted his teeth in anger and retorted, Don't act like you've already won. He charged aggressively, swinging his sword hard at Arium while roaring, A low-class clan member has the gall to do that. But right after that, the top of his head was pressed down firmly by a hand. From above, Arium smirked. The only thing that's low class is your skill level. As she spoke, she stomped her foot down hard on Yongmi Yongho, but her expression immediately became even more excited when Yongmi Yongho managed to block her descending knee with his sword. He blocked it. Yongmi Yongho used all his strength to throw Arium off him. At this point, he had to admit it. All right, I admit you're stronger than I expected, but you're not skilled with a sword. His voice instantly became threatening, and even his expression turned incredibly grim. Now I'll show you the difference in our class. Arium, still very excited, replied with a hint of contempt. You're putting on airs after getting beaten to a pulp. But she immediately froze because Yongmi Yongho had crouched into a stance. Around him, his sword aura seemed to take the form of a growling azure dragon. That's the Yong clan's swordsmanship first form dragon's ascent. The guardian, watching from the outside, couldn't help but ask in surprise, when did Yongmi Yongho learn the Yong clan's secret technique? Meanwhile, JT just stood to the side, calmly watching the fight. Arium, standing near Yongmi Yongho, thought warily to herself, the wind. It's like it has turned into blades. Is this the Yong clan's swordsmanship? But that only made her even more excited. This is pretty cool. At that moment, Yongmi Yongho stepped onto the stream of sword aura and charged straight at Irium, shouting arrogantly at her, no matter how strong you are with a wild fighting style like that, you'll never be able to touch me. The renowned sword art of the Yong clan. Yong clan sword art, second form, Dragon's Shallow Blade. Yongmi Yongho moved like the wind, brushing past Aelium while unleashing several sword strikes at once. He struck her head on. Aelium's entire body seemed to have been pierced straight through by Yongmi Yongho's sharp sword aura. As this happened, he was muttering smugly to himself, I can't believe the first time I use my sword art, and would be in a place like this. Yongmi Yongho recalled his grueling days of training. For so many years, I've secretly trained to manifest the dragon sword. He tightened his grip on the sword in his hand. He thought with pride, real combat is the perfect proof. Now the clan elders will have to acknowledge me. I was always way better than that Yongta punk. But just then, he realized he was only holding the bottom half of his sword. Yongmi Yongho wondered in a panic, where's my sword? Just then, a cold voice answered him. It's right here. Along with it, Yelium's figure appeared behind him like the Grim Reaper. She even taunted him nonchalantly. Hey! I heard you bragging so much about your prestigious family's sword art, so I gave it a little thought. Yongmi Yongho spun around, utterly shocked. How does that little brat have my sword? The blade of Yongmi Yongho's sword was clamped firmly in Yelium's mouth. She replied with contempt. A prestigious sword art without a sword is just a low-class trick, isn't it? Right after that, she mimicked Yongmi Yongho, shouting aggressively, Yu Clan Sword Art 999th Form Broken Shadow Flowing Strike. With a single blow, Yongmi Yongho was sent flying. But in his mind, he couldn't help but curse, damn it, that's not sword art. Yongmi Yongho was knocked unconscious by Yelium, but she herself was panting non-stop. Her whole body was staggering, but she still smiled triumphantly. First place, I got first place. As she said that, her whole body fell backward. GT, who had appeared from who knows where, Ace reached out and caught her. He calmly asked for Yelium's thoughts. How do you feel after your victory? Yelium replied cheerfully, It was freaking awesome. I'm gonna go heal up like crazy, just like Yuji-Zun. At that moment, the system announced the final ranking results for the combat simulation. Demon combat results are as follows. Team Yelium N50 first place. GT then kindly informed Yelium, they say it's snowing outside. Those words made her frown in annoyance. Really? Then my wounds are probably going to sting a lot. The scene changes to the outside where snow was now falling on the streets. From inside looking out, Ga-eun mused. Do you know why it's snowing during a warm spring like this? It's because of Jian. They say that when the mood of a Lamb clan member turns melancholic, white snow falls around them. In other words, little Jian is feeling lonely. She turned her head and said, therefore, as the protector of the clan, the cleaner has to melt Guyon's heart, don't you think? Gordon stammered in reply, I understand your meaning, milady. But in this getup, do you think I can really melt Lady Jian's heart? Looking at his princess-like outfit, Gaon said amused, of course, these days. There isn't a single child who doesn't like this character. She ordered confidently, now, let's move out and melt Gion's heart. Gordon nodded in agreement. At that moment, little Gion was playing in the living room. She sat drawing by herself, looking incredibly bored. Then Gordon approached from behind. Lady Gion, you seem very bored, milady. Would you like to play princess with me? He put on a cute expression, but it didn't look cute in the slightest. Seeing him like this made Gion angry. The little girl clenched her fist, causing the crayon in her hand to snap in two. Seeing this, Gordon asked, Lady Gion, why are you like this, milady? Ubam walked up from behind and asked, what is this? What is that thing? Gordon explained, this? I thought that if I cosplayed as a cartoon character, Lady Gion would be happy, so I gave it a try. Seeing Ubam appear at this moment, Ga-eun jumped and exclaimed, "Oh crap, she found out." Yubom sighed wearily and replied, "The way you look right now is only making Jiyeon more scared. Go wash your face, now." Then he turned to Ga-eun and explained, "But Lady Ga-eun said she would definitely like it." Ga-eun immediately denied it. "I never said that." Right after Gordon went into the bathroom to remove his makeup and return to his normal appearance. From outside, the door opened and GT returned with Yelium. She was rubbing her head in anger. "What the hell? Why is it snowing in May? Right, you two are back." Ga-eun excitedly went to greet them. "Uncle's sister Yelium, it's really been a while. Did you two have fun?" Yelium looked at her angrily. "What, you think we were just out having fun?" The girl asked, confused. "Weren't we just out having fun?" Emilium flashed a mischievous smile, a snowball in her hand, and replied, "Yup, that's right. So since we were out anyway, I got a present for you too." Realizing her sister's intention, Ga-eun immediately turned to run, but Emilium had already predicted this. She grabbed the strap of her shirt, then shoved the snowball down Ga-eun's back, laughing loudly. "Here, take your present." A bone-chilling cold shot through her, making Ga-eun scream, "It's so cold!" "What did you put down?" "My back." "Is that a snowball?" "I'd sold say," Urium replied. "Yup, with a little bonus dog poop inside." Hearing that Ga-eun's eyes filled with tears, "I hate you." Yubom walked over and asked him, "You must be tired, sir." He nodded back at her, then his gaze fell on little Gion below. He asked, "What is that?" Yubom replied, "It's a present from Gion for you." Taking the picture the little girl had just drawn, he explained with amusement, "This is me, and these two must be Yaelium and Gaon, right? And the person cleaning up and the one hugging Gion is..." Yubom replied, "I think that's you." He asked again, "This is me." Yubom continued, "Because you're hugging Gion." Hearing this, the corners of his mouth lifted into a slight smile. He then turned and suggested, "Let's go somewhere tomorrow, okay? For 2 days and 1 night. This suggestion delighted Yubom. "You want to go on a trip? It must be because of Gion that you're in a better mood." He glanced away, avoiding her gaze. "That's not exactly it." Noticing this, little Gion's mood brightened up considerably. Along with that, the sun's rays returned to the city, melting away the previous cold. This came as a bit of a surprise to the people below. "Hey, the snow has stopped falling." This place, about 2,000 kilometers north of the Mongolian border within Russian territory. About 25 years ago, this place was used as part of a military base during the Great War. But now it is an extremely secret place with no human footprints to be found. The big family had now arrived. Ga-eun exclaimed with delight, "Wow, it's so beautiful." She happily played in the water and turned to ask him, "How did you know about a beautiful place like this?" "Look how clear the water is. You can see all the way to the bottom." He replied, "I found out about it back when I was storming the fortress." Yaelium lay on the car roof, yawning widely. "Honestly, we could have just teleported here. Why did we have to go through the trouble of renting a car?" Yubom smiled and replied, "Driving around like this once in a while is nice too." Seeing him turn to leave, she asked, "Hey, where are you going?" He replied, "I'm going to set up the tent nearby and look for some food. You kids have fun." She suggested, "Can I go with you?" He replied, "You're the oldest sister, so you have to take care of Gion." Being rejected by him made the little girl a bit sad, and all of this was witnessed by Urium. She pushed up her glasses, watching with a scrutinizing gaze. After some hard work, he had finished setting up the tent and was starting a fire. After getting the fire going, he went to look for food. Holding a purple mushroom in his hand, he hesitated for a moment, but in the end he decided to take it. After returning, he told everyone, "Everything's ready. Come on over, you guys." Then his gaze suddenly froze. Yubom answered, "Is everything ready? We finished playing and are having some snacks now." What had caught his eye was the group of kids all wearing bikinis, looking very cool and fresh. Staring at her swimsuit, he mumbled, "That swimsuit." The girl quickly replied, "That's right. It's the swimsuit I was wearing at the mall before. You still remember?" She continued, "Hey, the truth is you really wanted to see it, didn't you? Me wearing a bikini." He put on a stern face and replied, "Hurry up and put your clothes on." Urium came closer to tease him. "What's this? Why are you avoiding my gaze? Don't tell me you're getting shy. Are you starting to see us as women now?" They said they were going to pitch a tent, but who knows what else they're pitching. If I'd known, I would have worn my super sexy micro bikini here. He was utterly speechless. After that, he punished that girl Aeolium soundly, then tossed her straight into the river. Gayu watched the kid amused. That's the punishment for stealing my cup noodles, sis. And so, the long day came to an end. As dusk fell, the kids' faces looked a bit dejected. They stared at the pot of food in front of them, looking at the purple stew, which couldn't possibly look more toxic. Gaian asked, "What is this?" He replied, "Mushroom hot pot." Yariam chimed in, "You mean poisonous mushroom hot pot, right?" Gayun added, "Back when I was in the Amazon, I ate way too many poisonous mushrooms, so I don't want any more." Ubam was amazed. "How on earth did you survive in a place like that, just smelling this stuff?" Made Elium's face scrunch up in disgust. "Oh, for God's sake, forget poisonous. It looks like a pile of tumors. Even the neighbor's dog wouldn't touch this." He got angry. "And yet you gobbled up Ubam's cooking just fine." Ubam pouted, "Mister, are you dissing my cooking? But last time you even said my food was delicious." His words made him flinch, and he just gave a dry cough to change the subject. Yariam continued, "Anyway, I'm not eating this. Before I flip this table, bring out the cup noodles." "You already ate them all," Gaian snapped. Ignoring them, Ubam motioned to Gian, who then approached the pot of food. She then took a spoonful, put it in her mouth, and chewed heartily. This caught everyone else's attention. Seeing this, Gaian yelled, "Gian, don't just eat random things like that." Yariam tried to stop her. "Hey, spit that out. Hurry up." The man behind them remained calm. "It's good for your health." Contrary to everyone's expectations, the little girl had a look of pure delight on her face and exclaimed, "Yummy, it's so good." This left the other kids stunned. "Wait, you can talk now." The little girl ate another spoonful of food and giggled.